Hello and welcome to episode 24.7, where we are going to take a small aside on top of our standard tales to discuss, well, some of the things what did happen during our tales, plus maybe a little bit more on top of that. But the question is, where are we going to begin? And we're going to begin today's tale with the lovely Yume, who is currently outside the city of Altdorf, attempting to learn a host of different forms from a puppy. Now, obviously, this has been going... She likes to think it was going really well. But that one time when she had enormous success, that one time has not been replicated again. And you've tried, and you've tried, and you've tried, and you've shifted weaponry. You moved over to your katana. You moved training katana, not your actual katana. You don't want to say, no, yeah, not that one. No. Naginata? No. Anything? No. Side? No. Really? No. And it has been now over a week of frustration for you and for the puppy. Just dedicated training. Meanwhile, though, and somewhat unknown to yourself, there are two parties making their way towards you. One party is heading from Altdorf. The second party is heading from outside Altdorf, indeed, a distant monastery. So let's bring them in. Bum, bum, bum! Two... No, the tree isn't playing today, just to make sure we're clear. So, but it is a festive time. Greta and Alamenawife are currently making their way along the road from Altdorf. They've passed beyond the Reichsport, beyond a whole chunk of the fields that go beyond there to a rougher area near the edge of the marshes. Greta has taken a picnic. Aye, she says, I've taken a picnic. And she's taking you out to see...
Do we have the baby?
Of course. Taking you out to see your pal, Yume. She's been, well, she's been somewhat out of sorts, actually. We had a big long chat after I spoke to Elric and he disappeared. No, she's disappeared, but I know who she is. But we had a big long chat and, yeah, she's got a puppy. You're going to like this.
I don't like puppies.
You'll like this one. It's a big puppy.
How old is it?
I don't know. I didn't ask. But it's about 6 foot tall. Big puppy.
Is it a griffin puppy?
No. 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 Try again.
Has her fox spirit been reborn?
I have no idea. Try again. That time's a charm. Isn't that what they say? And I'll be with you. Would that be Loek? Whatever.
I don't know. A barge dog?
Barge dog. Yeah, let's try that. I think that might be accurate. It's a barge dog, really big. I particularly like the way it does this. He says, I'm not going to do that in front of the barge dog. I mean, the puppy. Right. So, you need to have a chat with her, I think. Maybe you'll be able to calm her down. She's,
Why? What is wrong with her?
I didn't really want to say. I wouldn't like to put words into her mouth. I'd much rather you just did whatever it is that you do and chat to her. Meanwhile, you're making your way down the winding road. Stick, tap, tap, tap in front of you. You're pretty used now to being blind. And you have grown used to wide open spaces, tighter spaces, making your way along open roads, which is actually much more difficult than you expected because your senses get dominated by the great expanse and you trip over small rocks. So the stick's actually useful. But when you focus and think, you generally know the stones are there before your stick hits it. You've tried yourself a couple of times. Can you dodge it? It's something to do while your brain is desperately trying not to think of other things. Mm-hmm. As you make your way along, attempting to miss all the stones, attempting to not trip into small potholes, not to fall into a ditch because the road turns a corner. You've almost done that a couple of times already. You get stopped by various passers who offer you an arm, a hand, a coach, or a wagon, but you want to be left to your own thoughts. There are things that are preying upon your mind. After an hour, you reckon you're about 80% successful in navigating. You trip up every once in a while, but if you use your stick, you're 100% successful. No issue at all. Stick, no problems. If you concentrate and you just center yourself, again, no problems. But if you're going at a pace, that's when the problems are more likely. You think you might need some more practice. There's a part of you thinking, if we ever get away from the barge and I can just run up and down a little bit in a rather dangerous place, possibly with something to pad my knees and my feet and my hands, gloves, thick gloves, for when I fall over. I'm going to fall over a lot.
With a full plate on.
Yeah. Armor. That's what you need. Full armor. Donk. It'll be fine.
I'll never get back up again, but I won't hurt myself falling down.
But you think that a bit of practice might do you good, because the more you are growing used to your current situation, the better you're getting at it. But there are still lots of just holes in your abilities. If you have time, you're almost always perfect. It's almost like you can trace a route to where you want to go. And that's the problem. If you're just going somewhere, that's when you bump into everything. But if you're going somewhere, then you walk with purpose and you have no problems. Your biggest problem is when you're just meandering. When you meander, you stub your toes, you trip, you fall.
It feels like there's a spiritual lesson there, right?
Yeah. 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 Spiritual lesson. Let's focus on that.
Sounds exhausting.
Yeah. You have no idea.
Up ahead, Yume is pair of war fans glinting in the summer sun. And she's posing with them and being adjusted by a tall Nepalese man. As Greta goes, there's the puppy.
I do not see it.
Oh, you do?
But the man.
Mm-hmm.
I do not understand. Perhaps it will become clear soon.
Well, just wait till the fighting stops. His natural instincts start overcoming. He wants to prostrate himself and grovel around on the floor.
Right.
At her home, the Imperial Princess is very, very important. And her natural state of affairs, when butted against his natural state of affairs, tends to be and until he gets over it, I'm going to call him a puppy. Because he's going to have to. We can't have him wandering around, prostrating himself every 2 moments, scraping his chin along the ground. Somebody's going to notice. Plus, it'll ruin his pretty face.
You're so funny, Greta. But in this case, it sounds like you are right.
I'm surprised you can even see them. They're so far away. Fans flashing as being adjusted. And you hear him say, hey, steps back again. You're listening to them, aren't you?
Mm-hmm.
You've gone quiet. Yeah. She listens. I can't hear anything. Fuck you. As she then starts slowly moving through forms with a shing. They're still too heavy for you. And shing, your arms are so heavy now. And the worst part is, he knows and isn't saying anything about it because he knows you know. And you're desperately trying to hold it up, and you're the one that's pushing for... And you stop. There on the hill, meandering over. Leopold.
He's walking with purpose.
Looks like he's limping.
Leopold! Because she knows he'll probably hear her.
Damn, yeah. Your toe feels a bit sore. You did stub it. No need to limp.
Why
So
is
someone can hear you.
she is shouting for Leopold?
Really? Looks at you.
Oh, is she looking at?
You have
Is she
cast a
looking
spell
at
or
me?
something.
No, I have not. She's not looking in our direction.
I can't. Where's she looking?
That way.
Oh, no, there's trees there. I can't see anything. Maybe Lupil's over there. Really?
What a coincidence.
It doesn't sound likely, does it? This far outside of Altdorf? Just well, maybe he's meeting her. Maybe they've organised to meet or something.
Maybe.
Picnic.
Have you brought enough for him? He's very tall.
The puppy probably won't eat. I'm being honest, he probably won't eat. Turns his nose up at anything that resembles proper food.
What does he like to eat?
I don't know. He won't tell me.
Oh, right.
I asked. He just looked at me like I was made of something. Well, it might have been calling him a puppy for most of the afternoon, so he was a little upset.
Did you ask him what kind of dog food he likes?
Yes.
Well, that would be it.
He says, yes, I did.
You're so charming.
It's not my purpose to be charming. It's my purpose to turn him into a human being instead of the imperial whatever it is that he calls himself. He said it. Ugh, I can't repeat it. It was some funny word. You know, that foreign language they use.
Nipponese. I
I
assume.
have a strong urge to make some sort of knee joke, but I won't. That'd be inappropriate. Plus, he might hear me. He's got sharp ears. He's a dog. As the pair of you make your way along, as he, the puppy, looks at you and says, "It's probably best you take a break." In Nipponese, you need to rest. You've been fighting it. You don't need to rest.
I'll practice until he
arms
gets here.
Feel so heavy. So heavy. Shing. Aww. It takes about 5 minutes for you to reach where she is. You can hear the metallic clang, clang, clang of her moving fans, shifting them open, shifting them closed, flashing them up, flashing them down. You're not quite convinced what they are. I mean, you know they're fans. Well, listen. Definitely shingy metal things.
Pairs of scissors?
Yeah.
Shears, maybe?
And the closer you get, the weirder it is. As you go, wait a minute, it's almost like it's tong, 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 tong. Whoa. It's like there's lots of swords all at once, and I'm seeing them all.
Maybe she's got like a bunch of throwing knives between her fingers, like
Will that do
claws.
it? How's she do it? Your brain is coming up with all sorts
Some
of
kind of
things.
Ronaldo sleight of hand.
Yumi,
Something you'll hear too.
I'm no longer your biggest fan. I've been thinking of that all the way along.
Greta looks at you. Oh, really?
Is that right? Did I do it right?
Yeah, yes, you did. That was a pun. Well done.
Really pleased with yourself.
Well done.
Thank you.
Oh my God. As she calls out, "Can you hear us?" Distant.
She'll wave the fan.
Yes!
Yep, that's the father, all right.
He is.
As he comes out from behind the trees, and there's the father.
What a coincidence.
She holds up. Can you shout? I don't want to shout. I've got a picnic.
Greta's got a picnic!
She points at it. In no time at all, you are all gathered by a stump where a blanket has been spread across it and food of various types, most certainly not Nipponese, have been spread out atop it. A mixture of soft, spreadable sausage, butters, breads, and pre-baked biscuits. There is also a host of small foodstuffs wrapped in leaves that you've been told to warm by the halfling in a fire. The idea of actually making a fire in this exceedingly warm afternoon sun is not all that appealing. But the food does look good, all wrapped in its leaves. And the only way to really eat it is to cook it. apparently, it'll only take half an hour. Don't you worry, I'll show you how it works. Come on through here, yank, yank, yank. You had a half-hour lecture on exactly how to cook them. Worst thing is, come the end of it, she said so much, I kind of lost track of what the first instructions were, but you definitely know at the end it will be cooked. You're pretty convinced of it. You get a standard fire, toss it in there, turn it over once, it'll be fine, right? She had commentary about how long it should sit in the fire, how long the fire should sit. Like it makes a difference.
Well, I mean, Alan doesn't know about cooking, but she does know about outdoor survival. If you leave
How
the
many
fire...
advances has she got in outdoor survival?
No, I was just going to say...
No. How many advances has she got in outdoor survival before she makes such a swooping claim? Uh-huh.
10.
Oh, okay, yeah. Point taken. I retract.
Right, so all I was going to say is when a fire is first lit, it's not like hot all the way through. It turns
You'll be looking
into
for
like
the coals.
the coals, yeah.
You'll get from the yes.
I think that's
good.
pretty basic.
It is pretty
Fire
basic
knowledge.
for assuming you've got some advances. But yes, you're all good. Which means you probably want to start the fire now if you're going to do it.
I shall start the fire.
Do yourself
An outdoor
an outdoor survival test.
Can I assist?
Of course you can.
I have 12 advances in outdoor survival.
Ah!
88. No, joking. Can I take my time?
Oh, well, of course you can. Advantage? If you have no advantage, you obviously cannot assist.
80. It's actually 83. I just thought it was an 8. 8 successes.
Superb.
I've only got 6 successes.
It doesn't matter. Whoever's got the highest, so that's 9 successes in total. We have a very competently made fire. The wood, of course, is dry at this time of year, and there is a dead tree half hacked to pieces not too far away from where you are.
Is it definitely dead?
Of course.
It's been cut in two as far as you can tell.
I'm asking her if it's definitely dead.
Point taken.
Which would mean nothing to the people watching this stream.
The spirit is in the base of the trunk, the part that is still attached to
The
the ground.
spirit is still in the trunk, the stump.
But not the part that's...
But not the part that we are using. It's like hair and...
Or toenails.
Yes, exactly. I don't know what will happen to the spirit now the tree's been cut down. Maybe it will go into another one.
So as the pair of you go back with the wood, make your fire, consider about the potential of the toenails having spirits. You gather around your stump with all your food, with your spreadable sausage and butter, your bread. Greta, sitting. The sausage is particularly tasty. It's from Karabag. It's very salty though. It might not be to your taste. Originally comes from Marienbad. However, very good. If you're not too sure, spread it thin.
Caribou, great sausage.
Quite. So,
You have had it before?
so many jokes.
Yes.
Pardon?
Nothing.
Greta
So-
almost did as well.
We were in Karabag recently, actually.
Why were you in Karabag?
Why were we in Karabag? Because Yume wanted to go to Karabag, and because you left me
When did you go to Caribou?
when you disappeared.
I
didn't disappear. I left a note.
I went to the Grey College to come back that same day. How long did you wait?
Right, wait, pardon. Pre-prepared speech time. We didn't have this when she came back because it didn't feel very fair. As I recall, you promised you would never leave my side because I could be scried, yes?
Not strictly true. I also promised the same to Gerhard. And what if you were in 2 different places? I've left your side many times.
Were you with Gerhard?
No.
So, my original point now still stands. Where were you?
I was at the Grey College.
Why were you there and not where you should have been?
Because
I have a different question. Why have you abandoned your entire raison d'etre?
I was ensorcelled.
Oh, bullshit.
That's
Spreads.
She says,
it was
Spread,
discovered
spread,
in
pass it
the
along.
it was discovered in the Grey College.
Oh, was it?
And-
Very convenient. You just happened to be ensorcelled.
Yes.
When?
When I parted ways with Gerhard in Black Rock.
Yeah, that was odd. Now that I look back in it, but I didn't realise it was all there.
Around the same time that the book came into his possession. The good news is the book seemed to be stopping him from being scried when I wasn't there.
How do you know that?
Because while I was in the Grey College, I was imprisoned for 4 days.
Of course you were.
While I was in the Grey College, Alana Grauman...
Wait, what? Did you do something?
I went to the Grey College.
She's an elf. It happens.
You just get...
Plus, you know, I'm a wife.
4 days and then a couple more days. I've been imprisoned a number of times in my brief sojourn. Anyway, what was I saying?
You were in prisons.
You were trying to
The book is stopping
scribe?
Gerhardt being scribed.
Oh, Alana Grauman had a ball of sphere that allowed her to scry people. So she tried to scry for Gerhardt, and it was misty. So we weren't sure if it was Gerhardt, so I asked her to scry for Dr. Flaster, and she could see her, but she wasn't with Gerhardt at the time. So I asked her to try scry for you next, and it broke the ball.
Really? What about me? The person that you're supposed to be protecting? The person who is currently open to being scrying when not with you? Did you even check to see if I could be scryed? Wow.
Well,
Wow.
I thought that you were on the barge with Gerhardt.
No, you didn't even check.
Yes, but I was about to check and the orb broke. You
Yes,
were
but you-
next.
I was next. After whom?
Leopold.
And before that? Dr. Flaster?
Yes, to see whether she was with
And
Gerhardt.
Leopold's more important than myself in this particular regard. I mean, Leopold's not any threat of scrying, other than the fact that he's with people who may attempt to be scryed. But you made promises. What about little Sigismund?
I thought you were with Gerhardt on the barge.
That's bullshit. We both know it.
No, it is true.
Bullshit.
Well, I'm
The
sorry.
big thing about Almeno is she lies all the time to try and cover her mistakes. It's true. You're a lie. I'm not going to put up with it. You can try and claim that it's not true. I know when you lie. You're speaking.
It's like an act of devotion for her, though.
I know.
It's a good thing.
But you see,
That was meant to be defending you.
you see
Sorry,
there is
let me come across that
there
way.
is a difference here where she has promised not to lie because apparently it helps her acts of devotion. And now she's actually lying.
I
But maybe
thought
that's because there's other people here.
you were on the barge with Gerhardt. I thought that, in my mind, I thought, shall I look for Greta next? No. Hopefully she's on the barge with Gerhardt.
Hopefully.
Yes.
That's not I thought. That's hopeful.
Yes. And I was about to check. Look, I didn't know it would break. It was a matter of seconds. Look for Gerhardt. Look for Dr. Fluster. Look for Leopold.
I wasn't even on your mind.
Yes, you were. You were on my mind from the very start. In fact, she asked me, why are you so distracted from Gerhardt? I said, well, to be fair, I have been thinking about Greta all the time.
That's what you said.
Yes.
Bullshit. I mean, I thank you for the thoughts, but I find that a very unlikely turn of conversation.
She said, why have you been so distracted? What have you been doing instead? I said, well, I promised Greta I would stay with her all the time. And then she said, why did you come here? I said, I just came to drop you a note and you kept me in a prison for 4 days.
Mm-hmm. Why didn't you leave?
I couldn't.
Couldn't you?
No,
Why?
because I was in a room with no doors.
Windows?
No.
All right. That's right. You're telling the truth.
Yes. All right, there was a
You're not
door, but
telling
I
the
tried to
truth.
break
She's
it down.
Such a liar! You're such a liar, Alamenawife!
The first time there were no windows.
Oh, I'm sure there was.
But there was a door. I tried to pick it. It wouldn't pick. There was no lock. I tried to break it down. I screamed. People went past and I heard them. No, they said every time they went past and heard me.
Just stop.
But
Just-
that's what
It
happened.
no longer matters. You made your point.
It does sound pretty horrible, though, being trapped in a room for 4 days.
I paced a lot. Anyway, I was ensorcelled and she got a blue wizard to come and de-sorcel me.
Is that actually... That's not how the words work. But I understood what you meant, so I suppose it is.
Yes, so something, either the book, Engels, we thought, perhaps Johann, who I met in Black Rock. I don't know if I mentioned that before.
Interesting.
Distracted me and let this book worm its way into Gerhardt I think to remove him from the line of
Who
succession.
did you meet in?
Pardon?
Who did you meet in Blackrock?
Johan, the one with the white raven. And
You're saying one, but I have no idea who you're talking about.
Dodgy Johan. You've heard us talk about him.
he was a seer we met on the road before we met you.
All right. And he happened to just be there.
Yes, well, it turns out that he was getting frustrated because he couldn't scry me. And so he went to a place where he thought Gerhardt might go. And just waited.
Clever.
And we did indeed turn up.
Very
Yep.
clever.
It does also provide us with a useful piece of information. Don't go where people expect us to go,
Exactly.
because they'll just be lying in wait there, which does suggest any of our usual haunts are probably being staked out by our particular enemies. Good to know. I mean, it was obvious, but I hadn't actually thought of it.
Yes, so that happened. Then because we thought that something was being awakened in Gerhardt, which we thought already, we went to see Gausser.
Would you like some of this sausage, puppy? Just scream. No, come on, sausage. It's absolutely lovely, salty.
Oh, I should probably Jiro. This is Jiro. He's my dad's best friend and also my training master. And these are my friends. This is Alan, my wife, and Leopold.
And she bows.
Why did he growl at us?
Oh, it's not growling.
I told you.
Oh, he's a puppy.
See?
A very big one.
She smiles.
Alan and Michael
and just
blink
beams
at
at
Greta.
him. As he...
You should eat though. We haven't had any food today yet.
He goes in, picks up some dry bread. Oh my god. She's Greta.
Yume will make him a sandwich.
He's horrified.
Please.
He looks pained.
I thought your father was of the imperial family.
Uh-huh.
And this man was best friends with him.
Yes.
Really?
Yeah. He's very important, really. That's why he's finding it so hard to divest himself of tradition, you know?
Right.
You are quite aware that there is effectively a bond between your father and him, because they are in many ways brothers, which allows him to break tradition in a host of ways.
Yeah.
You are definitely not his sister.
Yeah, it's like how Leopold and Gerhardt can talk to each other honestly in a way that if Gerhardt was actually, more important, and he wouldn't be able to do at court.
Greta almost chokes. Yeah, if only he was.
It's like how Gerhardt treats everyone he meets. Right, I've got you.
So we have to break the puppy's training.
I see. I can help, I'm sure. I'm a princess. So I understand people like you.
He just sits there stoically, holding the sandwich he's taken a single bite from.
Eat the rest of your sandwich. Tell him.
Come on, puppy. He starts eating. You may tell him that he has to do what I say.
Oh.
So I have been milking that.
Did I tell him, or did you just say that just...
Much the same result, isn't it?
Anyway, so then I found out that Frederick von Ostland, the cultist, do you remember him?
Mm-hmm.
He's the richest man in Ostland. He lives on
that one.
Goelna Hill near the zoo.
Pig Boy's dad.
Pig Boy's dad. I should have led with that.
The one where we were leaving when I was taken to the
Yes,
conclave.
exactly. The one who is the Ostland Elector Count's man in Altdorf. And is also a cultist of the cult we have been
All the way
hunting.
back at episode 2.
Has replaced
Wow.
Talene Feuerbach, who is the sister of the Elector Count of Talabecland. Talabheim?
No.
Wife.
No,
Wife.
It's the wife.
The wife. She's the sister of a bright magister called Hans Feuerbach.
Sister-in-law.
Sister-in-law. Anyway, he has taken her position in the Imperial Palace, in charge of the Volkshalle and all of the Emperor's buildings. So that's very bad.
Yeah. Considering what they do in buildings.
Well, it's the Volkshalle, so that's where all politics are conducted, not just for the Reichswind, but for the Empire as a whole.
Yes. So the cult we are hunting now has...
Control of that building.
Yes.
I'm glad we're talking about this all the way out here.
That's why I wanted to come out here. Then I went to see Gausa. Because of the book, we knew it was probably going to awake something in Gerhardt. We knew it was probably something Ulgu related. And we knew that Gausa was sending some...
What if it isn't?
Then we'll need a different teacher.
Teacher?
Yes, I asked Gausa to send a shadowy teacher.
Ah.
He was not pleased.
Then you could maybe learn some stuff as well, because you were saying that you only know,
Yes,
like...
I didn't mention that to Gausa. I tricked him! Tricked him so well.
Oh, well, I'm in a way.
What? Right, and then Alana began to be concerned about the significant numbers of coincidences, and so she insisted that we meet with someone from the Light College to inform them that there was some great evil loose in the city.
Yeah, about that.
I've just got one more thing to say.
Okay.
You can come right back to it. Alana Grauman has gone south to rally Marius Lightdorf and his people to defend Blackfire Pass against those greenskin horde that Colonel Sievers warned us about.
What?
Yes, you can go back to your bit now.
What? What greenskin horde? How big? Is it a threat? What's one wizard going to do if it is a threat?
You definitely heard us talk about that.
Not a horde.
Yeah, a bigger horde than...
It's why I was asking you about Colonel Sievers. Like how good he was, why he would run in fear of said horde, and come back to seek the aid of the Emperor and the Elector Counts to counter it. But there was so much politics here that he couldn't, and they ignored him.
That's a bigger threat than almost anything
Yes.
else. Also, we do not want to be in the south.
No, but Alana, she knows Lightdorf. She knows Alana is older. We suspected as much. Probably hundreds of years old. And what?
Just shaking my head.
And she, coincidentally, is one of the people who was set by Magnus to oversee Gaussa's lot. So as soon as I mentioned Gaussa, she knew exactly what I was talking about and took me straight to see him. That's why she was so concerned about the coincidence. So then she is going to take as many wizards as she can. She's going to speak to Hans Feuerbach. She trusts him, apparently. And
Who's Hans Feuerbach?
Bright Magister.
Bright wizard.
The brother of the Elector Count of Talabeclan.
Of Talene.
Brother-in-law of Talene.
Has anyone met Talene? Do we have any in there?
I've never met her.
No, neither do I.
And
Anyone know how she secured the position in the first place? One presumes she'd have been an ally of the Emperor, or perhaps his father.
I don't know.
It's worth asking, I suppose.
I know that
We could try and find her.
Gorman is supposedly friends of the Emperor, and I know that Feuerbach is well regarded in the Bright College.
And possibly Alana will be taking Feuerbach away from the Bright College. And anyone else who is concerned about what might be going on in the capital, I presume. You might find yourself a slow drain of magisterial support.
She was so terrified of what was in the city that when I suggested she take as many wizards as possible, she said she would take as many as she could. She's also terrified of what's coming from the south. But also, two more things. One, the Empire was sacked by Greenskins 100 years ago, and the Grey Wizards were made to make people forget it.
Pardon?
And secondly, the elves, she thinks...
This is a little bit too fast.
She thinks the elves left because of whatever threat is in the city.
What elves?
In Kemperbad.
Right, so the ones that went to Kemperbad. Right, so...
Because they didn't like what was in Altdorf.
So the embassy that we met. And they left Because of what's happening.
Yes, and do you know
Backing
what?
up.
Do you know what I saw on my way to the Grey College? I saw eagle ships. They were eagle ships, right? Little dragon.
A dragon ship and 2 eagle ships.
I saw a dragon ship and 2 eagle ships. The dragon ships are the big one, literally jumping the tolls to get through Altdorf to go down to Kemperbad, presumably. They're warships. They're taking warships to Kemperbad.
There were a lot of people leaving, even on the ferry that we left. Like, lots of people being kicked out because they weren't Altdorfers.
Oh, I saw dead Ulricans, murdered by people in the street. I almost got murdered myself. I was terrified. It was appalling. I've never seen such open and naked hatred. And do you know why?
Yeah.
Because the hammer has fallen. It's whipped them up into some kind of human-centric frenzy.
But they're all interpreting it differently.
Yes.
Yeah, we saw some people in Karberg who were very offended by the idea that, was it Mermedia? There was a statue of Mermedia and she was naked, and that was not acceptable. It was very weird. Like, they were flagellating and stuff right outside of it.
And remember, we were
It's not a
confused.
euphemism, Greta.
Remember, we were confused about.
Really? Flagellating themselves in front of the stage.
But that's just hurting themselves, isn't it?
Yes,
Yes.
yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
Right. So remember,
You're doing it wrong.
remember, we were confused by that agitator who had
What?
the wrong names, funny names for your father, Amy, the Duke of Amy. I was talking to Alana about that, and she said she doesn't think there was any slaughter. She thinks it was entirely a recruitment drive by your father, and perhaps even Kurt Hellborg was down there.
Pardon? You think he's been captured?
No, she thinks he's been
No chance.
politicked.
No. If Alana thinks that, then Alana really doesn't know either Kurt Hellborg or my father. That would be, let me see if I can find a good analogy to help you understand. It would be a little bit like a greenskin deciding to ally with the king of the dwarfs.
Right.
That isn't going to happen.
Well, when I was in the palace...
Just to be clear, Hellborg hates my father.
Right.
He sees him as the worst example of imperial nobility.
But then when I was in the
He's
palace...
jealous mostly because my line's older.
Yeah, but when I was in the palace, right,
That's true.
Alana talked to the Reichsmarshal, which is Kurt Hellborg.
Mm-hmm.
But Alana was wrong because Kurt Hellborg wasn't with them, because when I was in the palace, she talked to the Reichsmarshal, which means someone else was leading
Obviously.
those troops, which means he might have politicked them.
What do you mean he might have politicked them? What are you trying to
She
say
thinks it
happened?
was a recruitment drive. She thinks he tried
That's
to make
not
them
really
swap.
what politicking means.
Well, it is. Politics is just the
My
application
father,
of pressure.
Right, so let's be relatively blunt. My father will have allowed them to enter the city, much like the Altdorf troops entered Ubersreich. He will have allowed them to think that Tame is weak. He will allow them to think that a midnight raid would be successful, and then he would have surrounded them and given them a very poor set of choices. It would be less
That's
a
politics.
recruitment drive and more of blatant threats.
I think for the Grey College, that is politics and a recruitment drive, which tells you a lot about the Grey Magister.
Well, I suppose it does.
And so that's my
Was
news.
there any wizards with them?
I can't remember. I think
Because they'll
them.
be in a very difficult place.
I can't remember.
My father would probably kill them. if he
I'm
couldn't.
not sure.
I know what he's like. If there was any priests with him, he would have killed them.
Anyway, that's all my news. Oh no,
Definitely.
one more bit of news. One more. She confirmed that the Grey Wizards do often go around the Empire changing people's minds, and in this case they've been doing it to suppress panic, because the commonly held belief by the establishment is that panic causes the enemy to, well, win quicker.
Why aren't they doing it now, though, then, when all these people are panicked about the hammer's fallen?
Perhaps this is just spillover.
Yes.
As in, and who's to say how many there are? I mean, if you've only got 100 people to do a job, They can't all be
Yes.
here because then they're not doing their job elsewhere.
And they wander. So, anyway.
I mean, we know
what's
this
your
because
news? Yes.
they've been covering up the villages they've been burning for years.
Yes, but we didn't know that it was a sanctioned Grey College.
Yeah.
No, we knew the Grey College was doing it. That doesn't mean we knew that the elect accounts order the Grey College to do it. And that it's not just the college.
Yeah, I knew, but we didn't have confirmation.
Right.
You know how it works. I knew.
What that it was. Well, then you shouldn't have said it like it was such a bad thing. I've been telling people that the Grey College have been doing bad things.
It's a pretty bad thing.
Well, not if they're commanded to do it by the elect account and the Emperor. You need to sort out your priorities. You're a Sigmarite.
Yeah, and that's the problem. The cult is broken. That's the problem, Alan Menowith.
But no, just on this one logical right? They set up the colleges to be under the command of the elect accounts. If the elect account commands the Grey College to perform its Ulgu duties in that way to defend the Empire, then that is uncontrovertibly the Grey College doing the right thing. It's what they were set up to do. They're following orders and they're trying to defend the. Am I confused?
Often, she says, I'm not getting involved in an intellectual debate between an elf and a priest.
It does sound
like
like the beginning of a joke.
I know.
But
Well-
it is vaguely compelling to watch.
I'm just confused because you said it to me like it was like they were
I mean,
They
they
were
could have been
disobeying commands.
No, more like they were covering up the massacre of hundreds of innocent people.
Yes,
Thousands of
but
innocent
if they're
people.
told to do that by the Emperor and the elect accounts, then they're just doing their jobs.
And-
for-
So
and some would argue that that is an abdication of morality.
But some would argue that, but we don't tell the people everything. Do you wish for complete honesty? You know where that would lead.
and also like
There are nuances, sure. but that-
killing people is bad, but soldiers still do it.
Exactly. Telling the truth is good until you look someone in the face and tell them that their
Can't believe you
mutated
just
child.
said that.
What? What?
Nothing.
What did I say?
Telling the truth is good.
Yes, but it was going to be an equivocal statement.
I see.
Telling the truth is good, but
Uh-huh.
And,
when it's not.
and one of my first revelations was it's all the lying that's got us into this problem.
How-
Not your lying, to be clear. That's a different spiritual
Well, then
duty.
that's very confusing.
Well, yeah, I guess theology is a bit.
This greenskin invasion, like how big? What's their? Because that could give us an idea of their ability to hide a certain magnitude of problem, right? So like,
Well, I got the impression from Colonel Sievers, and now learning what I've learned about the fact that 100 years ago the Empire was sacked by
Are you
Greenskin.
certain about that?
Alana told me that.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, Alana was certain about it. They covered it up. Nuln was sacked by Greenskins.
It wasn't,
Naln was sacked.
Yes.
it wasn't that long ago that Ubersreich was taken by.
It was over
Greenskins.
100 years ago. And
Yep.
Blackrock Castle, according to what you know, wasn't, and neither was the Duchy
Yeah.
of Blackrock. But there was an
But
assault in the area.
most of
But
Ubersreich was.
Greenskins,
The
the
temple
Greenskins
was.
are attacked. Greenskins
Yeah.
attack Ubersreich an average of once every
Yeah.
30 years or
exactly.
so.
Yeah.
They
So not unknown.
Yeah.
They swept through the Empire, and as Greenskins are wont to do, apparently they got distracted by something else and left.
can I ask a lore politics question?
Yes, you can.
When we were in Karberg, we talked about how the Bildhofens were originally in charge of Nuln, right?
Yes.
But they weren't anymore.
Yes.
And we were like, why is that?
Yes.
Is that the lore politics question? Like this information about
This information would give a very clear reason for why the Bildhofens no longer hold Nuln. Because Nuln fell.
which
Actually
Yeah.
fell.
yeah,
And everyone retreated. And the Bildhofens, a very important line, the line of Magnus the Pious himself, coming to take over Middenland seems unlikely. They almost certainly had a claim to it for one reason or another. And moving their everything up to Karberg. It
so
seems
now Yume has a thing she can say.
Hmm.
Bildhofens. That would explain.
Yes, that would explain it exactly, because Alana said then her relatives, one of them performed particularly well in the defence, and that's how the Holschwig-Schliestens that's how the house of some Wilhelm was born.
Second.
House second Wilhelm of Reichland, third Wilhelm of the Empire.
Yeah, so he did something good then, and that's how when it moved to Altdorf.
So that's when he got voted in. Well, I know he got voted in then, but that's largely because Dieter Gogather was just the worst.
I can't speak to that, but...
I mean, he's so wasteland.
But maybe he sold the wasteland to raise money for a war that now everyone's forgotten.
Do we think we can use this to our advantage to get...
That's interesting.
Well,
You know what's particularly interesting about that? The Elfagers, the Dieter, the Nesterlanders, there would be a certain level of imperial Reichland dislike of the capital being moved so far away from the heartland, which everyone generally presumes is Nuln down to Altdorf, but Nuln in particular. But if Nuln had been sacked, then Altdorf is the natural place to put it. The Grey Wizards are centred there. I can understand the conversation that might go on behind the scenes to move the capital to somewhere that the colleges can monitor it more carefully.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, by all accounts, Altdorf has massively benefited from having the imperial seat there. But it's also massively benefited for a host of other reasons.
And the cult of Sigma would presumably have supported the move to Altdorf.
Yeah, probably.
Or some of them might have.
Yeah, there would have been a debate. One would have presumed that the Archlector, who was down in Nuln, would have almost certainly kicked up a fuss. But if it was destroyed, it'd be hard to kick up a fuss.
Well, anyway,
He might have died as well.
that was my preliminary statement. Colonel Sievers has spent a decade, I think, in the Borderlands. You know of his work there.
Oh, I do. I've read the books.
He has largely been...
You've heard of Colonel Sievers. Fennig Dreadfuls. They're all over the streets in Altdorf. And you can buy them for, well, a Fennig. And they are filled with stories redolent with glory about Colonel Sievers and his many troops. And each of them have got their own book, the great things, what they did do when they were down in the Borderlands. Whether it is Sergeant Malk or the Butcher. He sounds like a great guy. Ren the Butcher. They've all got their own little books, and Colonel Sievers leads them all. And occasionally, like the Avengers, they get together to see off some terrible enemy down in the Borderlands. They are almost certainly nothing like the books. But the books definitely exist. And anyone with lore warfare?
No.
No.
History?
No.
So...
I shall stop there.
You don't have lore warfare?
It's not been an option.
Me.
It might be when the rebuild comes, who knows?
He comes in. I now know everything about war.
Well, he's going to get a lot cleverer. I mean, that is definitely going to happen. So,
So we do Leopold thing before he explodes.
thank you.
Well, can I just finish so it's really, really bad.
This is my life.
Colonel Sievers...
Just say this is my life.
Colonel Sievers came
really bad.
home because they think he won, but he came home because he realized that he could not break the horde anymore. The horde was swelling and swelling. He had just been breaking up hordes, taking out war leaders, and he started to fail. And it's like a snowball rolling down a hill. It's now past the point where you could put your hand out and stop the snowball, or where 50 of you could. It is now an avalanche, and it is coming.
So she's off to see Lightdorf because he's a general, but he is... I don't know what you know of Lightdorf, but Lightdorf is inconsistent.
I know about the horses.
The horses?
Yeah. Lightdorf is inconsistent. He's been let count 3 times so far. Kicked out every time, often due to civil war, because he is... Let us say he has a very unique view on the world, but he's pretty. He's a poet.
Okay.
I met him.
Uh-huh.
I sold him forces to help retake the moot, as he put it. He wasn't retaking the moot, he was just leading an assault into the mootland to massacre halflings. He doesn't like halflings very much. In the end, the entire army failed. It didn't do what he wanted to do, so he built a road through instead. He just didn't like the Greenleaf Hills. There was a reason he didn't like the Greenleaf Hills, though. We've discussed this before.
No. Alana told me this. She never told me this. We haven't discussed this before.
We have discussed this before.
What? How he got smoke blown in his face as a
Yes.
child.
Yes, you and I have discussed Arius at some length.
There you go.
Oh, anyway.
And what's
You
this
and your
horse
memories.
thing?
Pardon?
You said a horse thing, and then you never
There is
explained.
sadly not a horse thing. There are multiples. He once fell in love with a picture of a horse. He serenaded it for almost 2 months, and he basically did not leave the room until the whole smoke thing and back to the halflings and who knows what else. He knighted, to begin with, his favourite horse. I think he's on to his 4th one now. And then he made it a duke.
Okay.
Then he decided that he got that wrong after somebody pointed out some anatomical details that were perhaps not quite appropriate. So now it's a duchess.
And is he in love with his duchess then?
It's not the sort of thing one's allowed to say out loud, especially down there. Currently, I believe he's down amongst all the horse lords.
Yes.
The horse lords in the south of Averland are
And the horse duchesses.
are a particularly potent force.
They're not literal horse lords. These are
And-
the ones that breed horses,
That they are
But
also
not with.
but not with.
They're not beastmen.
No,
No.
absolutely not. We've sourced from them some of the finest horse flesh in the Empire, frequently. They also have some really good longhorn cattle, which is worth pointing out. But that aside, to the north
We
is
saw
most
some
of
of them
the...
in Bergenhafen.
Yes, we did. They were driven all the way up. I'm not going to say that. She wasn't there.
We saw
you
some
may
of them in Bergenhafen.
Much better. They are north of Averland is where all the politics and power and money resides. In the south, it's all the farmlands, the animals, the horse flesh, and they resent each other deeply.
Horse flesh. You know, horses are quite tasty.
Mm. Yeah.
We have them all up in Nippon.
I've eaten them because they were somewhat of a delicacy in several places I've been in the borderlands. And really rather good. I was slightly disappointed. I wanted to dislike it, but no, really rather good. Are you done?
Yes. So Alana knew him when he was a boy, I think.
You who?
Liked
So
them.
Light
she's
off.
like really, really old?
Yes, but she doesn't look it. I have this hat that makes them all look like the same wizard.
Pardon?
Yeah, they have a hat, and when they don't want to be patriarch anymore, someone else just wears the hat, and they go around and do some business, and people expect a grey wizard to look like that. I really want that hat.
Does sound like it'd be a handy hat.
Did you take it?
No, I couldn't quite be sure it was really the hat, and she wasn't just doing the spell.
Taking that would have helped you work that out, though.
Did you wear it?
No,
Why not? Wouldn't you like to just, no?
I would have liked to wear it. I don't know, it never even crossed my mind. That place is weird.
You know, speaking of, I'm sorry, speaking of,
I'm going to fill my pipe.
speaking of people shape-shifting, when I was at the embassy in
biscuit.
Caribou, thank you.
Chocolate biscuit. Chocolate biscuit.
When I was at the embassy in Caribou, there was
No,
a
you don't like chocolate.
very mysterious entity. They looked like a old Nipponese man. Had the jade seal that lets you through into the embassy, all that kind of stuff. But there was something off about them. Jiro, you met them as well. There was something weird about them, right?
Shrugs.
You went off to try and chase them down. Did you find anything?
No.
Yeah. I did let slip that I was with someone that had a kid, so I am sorry about that, Greta.
You told me already.
But I couldn't be sure if it was like a friend or a foe, but I don't know.
What did it do?
So the issue is that we're in a position where we could be scried.
Mm-hmm.
And she got herself caught in the embassy. And then somebody arrived. Someone odd, who then quickly left and was aware of the fact that I was probably across the road. When she fled, having fled out, she came over to me and we decided it was wise to leave as quickly as possible. And our puppy here helped facilitate that.
Yeah. The reason why I shared that information is because I thought then Jiro could find us as well. But yeah, when I refused to come out from behind the screen, that was what was odd. They were like, I thought you were going to be more interesting or something, like this is not entertaining. Like that's not the normal reaction to somebody trying to find information. Like it was almost like a joke.
Sounds like I've known old creatures that are like that.
But like for example, Engo also did that same thing where they would just like play pranks at the
spirits do
party.
things like that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Are you done?
Mm-hmm.
Are you sure?
Sure.
So
Okay,
to some,
no?
there is a very large greenskin horde to the south. The colleges are going to be marshalling against them and are almost certainly going to be called back by the Emperor, which means Alana is going to be in a difficult position where she's going to have to refuse orders or just not hear them. I imagine we're going to end up with a host of magisters that she knows who are just going to leave Altdorf and be in a position not to receive orders. They will then be going to Marius. He'll almost certainly, if it turns to anything martial, he will immediately start claiming he's let account again. And if he does anything to a greenskin horde, he'll be right back up, swishing his sword, challenging anyone who passes him in Averheim. I can't think that it's a wise thing to be calling upon him for aid, although if you really are going against a greenskin horde, would you ask for anything better than one of the finest generals the Empire has to offer? No, you couldn't. It's just, will he general in the right direction? Other than that, there's some terrible creature in Altdorf. Is that everything you've got to say?
Is her face back to normal?
What do you mean by normal?
Well, the one we were
She
used
looks
to.
like an elf.
Okay.
She no longer looks like the more humanized version. This is her new normal.
I thought you were gonna go to the Great College to get another disguise.
I forgot to.
Oh.
Doesn't surprise me. She forgets a lot.
She's got her veils on and everything, like scarves. One final point. Just a political point about the Emperor calling them back for Alana. I think I saw that argument happen in real life in front of me. I think the Emperor's brother, the Grey Wizard, challenged her to tell him what she was doing and she refused, and they had a fight.
Interesting. Are you certain?
I'm not certain, but she certainly said things that she didn't need to say. What?
Your indoor voice, not your outdoor voice.
She said something like, if you don't like it, you can go and tell your fucking brother.
Oh, interesting.
And
that does suggest it's him, doesn't it?
And it suggests she wanted me to know it was him. Because she didn't need to say that.
No, she didn't.
That's interesting.
That's it.
Fascinating thing about him is that I didn't even know he existed until I came down to Black Rock and I got told about him. He'd been the Duke of Dunkelberg for some time. And he was going to be Emperor. And somehow I didn't know about him.
Well, he's a Grey.
Yeah. It really does say something, doesn't it?
Also, I guess we are outdoors, so...
Yeah. It's a phrase. Anyway, tends to get very excited sometimes and it just goes up and up and up and up and up and up. Don't you? Yeah.
If I go too high, you won't be able to hear me.
That's not what I meant. I meant the volume.
Like a dog?
Well, at least one of us will be able to hear him.
I'm done.
Right.
Marvellous.
Is it Yume's turn? No, clearly you've got something you don't want to say because you would have interrupted if it was that important.
I don't want to say. I mean, I've got.
Do you want more time?
No,
You
because
sure?
I have to say it. I just don't want to say it. But then again, having heard what I've heard, I'm now seeing spectral enemies everywhere. God, I really don't want to say it, do I? The
Would you like some tea?
creature, yes, please, thank you.
There you go.
Thank you.
Tea?
Oh, I do have one more thing to tell you.
I don't know why.
Are
You're
you
drinking
kidding
tea.
me? The creature, it may not be fully realized corporeally, It may be the spirit of a demon that is at play. Because I know where its body is.
What?
What?
She says.
Well, how do you know it's it? The thing causing the coincidence.
Well, it's the body of a demon of the architect. Big one.
How can they don't have bodies?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
I mean, I can take you and show you if you like.
But if a demon gets banished, it's banished.
get
How did
banished.
it have a body?
Its body appeared to have been trapped by either by Ulrich directly or by a miracle and manifestation of Ulrich's will. It is frozen in an ice cave beneath a Sigmarite monastery.
What does it look like?
Don't ask. Don't.
Well, no, see, there is an aspect of what it looks like that I was going to ask her about.
Go
Here
on.
we go. He says, and
No.
she sits back. This has now gone quite beyond my province.
I'm sure Fox always had 6 eyes.
I don't know. And then she'll go, but there's a way to check. And then she'll turn around and lift her shirt.
Yeah. While Yume's doing that, like Alumenowith, who I think had the baby, because I asked if he was with us, because she'll be carrying him. I don't think he should be listening to this.
He's a baby, darling.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't care.
All right.
Let's be honest. He's on our barge. Apoplectic with your curious mixture of emotions. Jiro looks down, looks away, and just sits there. Your open freedom concerning the bare flesh of your back is quite beyond what he considers to be anything close to acceptability. Oh, this pale flesh on display. Oh, no, put it away.
My father trains with his shirt off all the time. Like, it's my back.
Oh. Go on, puppy, say it. Come on, speak out against stuff. Says Greta. Come on, good boy.
Can someone tell me how it is that Fox has in the tattoo?
There is a sinuous tattoo, all flaring with colours around its edges. A big fox head, big whiskers tailing out from its head, and it has 9 eyes.
9.
9 eyes.
Ching, ching, ching.
Do you know what this is? How you got it?
When it manifested before, it had 6.
Mm-hmm.
What, the tattoo or the fox?
The fox.
Well, maybe it's not the same fox.
Wait, what? Oh, because you were there when I first noticed? I can't remember anymore.
No, he's talking about the fox creature thing.
Oh, yeah.
That
Ate the snake.
ate the snake.
Yeah.
Okay. I was there. It was quite impressive.
But this may not be the same creature.
Maybe not. But it's that fox that I was asking about.
The 6-eyed fox.
Yeah. Because that's how many eyes it has.
6?
The demon body.
Oh.
What do I call it? The demon corpus frozen beneath the fort temple.
Right.
And
you're certain it's a demon and not something else?
Yeah.
Because if it's got a body, it does suggest it's something else.
no, its spirit, its body was trapped. Its spirit is not in there.
But
If we were to release the body, I said some very cryptic prophecy, but I think
did anyone write it down for you?
yeah.
You need
actually.
a scribe. You need a scribe
No, she
to
did.
accompany with.
And I heard this one. It was not like the Hammer one. I was aware of myself saying it.
But I still think you need a chronicler.
But we got, well, yeah, definitely someone who was, but equally the power of it, like Ganelm and I were a little overwhelmed by what we just discovered. But there was something about, where did I write it? I don't think I wrote this one down deliberately because I was confused by it. But it essentially was, if we were to free it, the gist of it as I interpreted it, which may or may not be true.
Please just tell us the words. Tell me you know the words. Words are important. Not your.
Well, I know words are important.
But the gist.
I've got an example of that later. But it was to do with with freeing it and moving it. And basically, if we were to free it, if we were to release the body, that would cause it to move.
You're adding words, aren't you? Just tell us the words.
Well, I genuinely didn't write them down. Genuinely didn't write them down. I wrote down some other words. I don't know why I didn't write those words down. I think it's because we were talking about it afterwards. And then I didn't write because I was talking. So I will check my digital memory later. But the point is, the way we interpreted it, Gunnum and I, we the pair of us talked about it. We are both theologians, and we had been talking at length about religious texts and prophecy and things. And and I'll tell you why I'm giving you our interpretation of this. What we believe is that the body is trapped and the spirit is out there. But that were we to free the body, it would bring the spirit back to the body.
Almira's ears are literally she's literally vibrating.
which obviously is not a thing to be lightly done. But if that spirit is what's active and is working against us or working to its own ends, there may come a time when we want to stop it doing that. And we now have a way to do that. We can bring it back to this body. Now that then will unleash this massive demon corpus, and that it's big.
How big is it? When you say massive, how big?
Fucking massive.
Can we
the skull was 10 foot? Yeah. It's a massive 10-foot bird skull with 6 eye sockets.
Can we
arranged in the same pattern as was on the fox?
Can we chop it up before?
Well, I certainly can't, because Ulrich did not want me to go in there.
Oh.
It was cold, proper cold. Gunhelm found it really cold, but it was unbearably cold for me.
But how did you know it was Ulrich?
The spectral wolf howling,
right.
the incredible cold. I mean, I don't know for a fact, but
Do you think that makes you more likely to be able to walk for the silver flame, or less?
I don't know. I really don't know. The point was, it felt like, and again, we may be projecting, but it felt like specifically Ulrich didn't want me going in there.
If this is true,
But it was really obvious to me that the ice cave was there, so I think it felt like Ulrich wanted me to know it was there, but to leave it the fuck alone for now.
Yes, and that's, from what you've told me, as people get closer to the flame in the north, it gets colder and colder and colder, more unbearable. Right, so if this freezing has affected potential demon corpus that has a 10-foot head, then how powerful would an entity need to be to have a flame that just... when we were talking a few weeks ago, we sort of touched upon maybe the flame is a prison.
What flame?
The flame of Ulrich.
In Middenheim.
And then...
In Middenheim there is a flame that burns ever cold in the great temple of Ulrich, and it is an enormous flame. I saw it when I was I was young. I was on my way to Nordland at the time with my father, and it's impressive. It's very big, but you can't get very close to it.
And if that's what's in that flame, I think you said this to me, Greta, and I didn't fully appreciate your words at the time. I apologize, but what is in the flame of Azurian? What was my ancestor possessed by? And how bad could that be?
So, Frozen, I have a question for you, and perhaps you'll be able to answer this. Who knows of this?
Me and Gunnel.
Is that it?
Mm-hmm. And she's not letting anyone else into that basement. Was there any chance of access by a third party? No, I mean, I've been there this entire week, and I literally just left and came here.
Well, I meant before.
Oh no, it was bricked up. It took us a week to dig it out.
Oh right. Well, that's good news. Because if it is anything,
I mean, at some point somebody must have known, because they built
quite One presumes they must have built it around it. Now, my concern is that if there is anything that is... Look, if we know people, we know that they will gather around such a thing. It does, however, concern me that anyone that is in that place could be under its influence without realizing it. That's the first concern I would have. Is it on holy ground, do you think?
Oh, yeah. It's on Ulrican holy ground, underneath Sigmar holy ground.
All right, so it's as safe as it possibly can be whilst being unsafe. And
Gunhelm's order, the Order of the Gilded Boar, they had this, like, sacred duty that they have been enacting for, like, hundreds, thousands of years. They have been repeating carvings on walls beneath their temple. There's one on the temple in Altdorf and then loads in the fortress temple outside. Now, it's interesting that the discovery of what was underneath the fortress temple kind of makes sense of something that doesn't make sense about their order, right? That part of her duty, if you go to her temple in Altdorf, she keeps like animals and things because they're like provisioning for a siege, for when, you know, the enemy will come and they will need supplies, except their fortress temple is outside of the city. Like, why would you build a fortress temple outside if you're talking about Altdorf being besieged? Didn't make sense. We were having a laugh about that, but it kind of makes sense now. The fortress temple is actually there to protect this. But the story about them provisioning and defending Altdorf is this direction.
And what are the carvings?
I mean, there's lots. Many of them are just the standard stories from the life
like
of
words,
Sigmar.
rather than...
Oh yeah, the stories, the stories of Sigmar. They have been carved. Like, it is their duty that they have to carve it like regularly, like every 10 years. Yeah, every 10 years the stories are to be re-etched, and they're never to be copied.
Interesting. Yeah, these are relatively common stories of Sigmar.
Apart from the ones that aren't.
Oh.
And they've only been carved by blessed priests. I could feel it.
So
only blessed priests have ever
that
done
means
this.
only those that have received the blessing of Sigmar thus cannot be manipulated from an outside source.
And
right, so
did you read them?
Yeah.
Did you notice any vast differences?
Well, I did in one of them. So
I'm actually interested.
This is fascinating.
So there was one, and it's interesting because it featured a name that we heard from Marguerite as well. A name that we thought was a bit similar to a profane name that we wouldn't necessarily want to say. And we weren't sure if we should say the name that she said or not. Began with an S, ended in ta.
Oh, yes.
And we weren't sure if that was a bad name or not a
Yes.
bad name. Well, apparently, that was Ulrich's twin sister.
Am I understanding that correctly?
It gets better than that. Sigmar also had a twin sister. Apparently, according to this carving. In his 28th year, he went to Middenheim to meet our Ulrich for advice on how to rule. Our Ulrich told him he had to cast aside his sister and wed. His twin sister. Sigmar said, I will not cast aside my twin. Our Ulrich said, and this is why you're right, the words are important. Our Ulrich said, the twins are cursed, that those who bear the same face as another are cursed, which I thought was unfortunate.
Well, fuck you.
And that was a mark of, now this was the thing, initially, badly transcribed, that was a mark of the prince. But then she realised it's not the mark of the prince, because prince comes from princeps, which comes from first. It's a mark of the first, i.e. the first demon prince.
Oh my god.
And that's what twins are. So not a mark of...
That is an interesting mistranslation. That would be a potentially fundamental mistranslation.
It would. Twins are not common amongst elves. You know this.
No.
Twins are not common. Multiple
confirming.
births are not common among elves. Triplets would be unheard of. There is a high number of twins in the line of Inarion. In that I know of 2 sets.
I mean, that might tell you what was inside that flame. What did Julius say about the first? Influencing lines?
The first is probably just an elf who fell.
You say that like, what difference does it make? Probably just. There is no just.
Anyway, story's not over.
No, that's not how I meant it.
So apparently Ulrich did just that. This is why Ulrich was telling Sigmar to do this, to cast aside his twin sister.
Because Ulrich had done
because
it.
Because Ulrich cast aside his twin sister.
That you don't want to name because you think it's the alternative to the first.
Yeah, exactly. Although it might not be the same, but it's similar.
Yeah.
She had asked him to join her in the War of the Gods, and he said no. So that might lend credence to being that. And
Sigmar had a twin.
So Sigmar had to do the same because she would. I don't know what that means.
Do you
I
think?
don't know why I put that in my memory.
Do you think his sister was the first? No, not the first.
And I think there's a name here with the question mark. Is that what might be the name of Sigmar's twin?
I don't know. I've not.
Begins
No
with an
idea.
A?
It might be.
Yeah. Azazel?
Azazel.
And we thought that might be the name of Sigmar's twin, but we weren't entirely sure. It was unclear.
Do you think if Sigmar is reborn, that also his twin sisters?
Interesting.
Well, there's something you should know. Did I tell you this before?
I'm not done.
It's about twins. It is relevant.
Okay.
Well, you know how among my people, Greta knows this, that we can be bonded to each other.
Yes.
In marriage. So I knew where Lucita was at all times. And she knew where I was, and we could feel each other's emotions.
Lucita is her wife, if you don't know, Father.
Well, some people say that in a way you're joining your souls. And that if you had a soul that was joined with yours from... Some people say the twins have the same soul.
Ah.
And in support of that, I was told by someone who knew me and my sister when we were young, who is a renowned liar, so we cannot take this at face value, that when she and I were young, that's how we would join. We were born like that, aware of each other. And that is why it was so... It's why I had to... Well, would have had to break that to become Alamenoite, Shadowvale.
So she didn't just lose a sister. She
lost part of herself. But that would...
Well, let's hope you never meet your sister.
She got
Again.
me pissed.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
She is very angry with me.
Yeah, I can see why.
But...
All right.
I mean, does that mean that there's only like half a soul in any individual vessel then? Like if you're sharing one?
You could imagine,
No.
I have discussed this actually with a Borderlander. He liked to sit all the time. It was very odd on cushions.
On cushions. I thought you were going to say up a stick.
No, he wasn't one of those Cenobite types. No, on cushions all the time. And he had a belly which was really big. Big, long moustaches. You know, I was like, this is an irrelevant detail. He was considered to be somewhat of a fortune teller and a seer, and was generally all. Well, he liked me. It was something that I could do that didn't involve having to speak to my father. So I just hadn't talked to him for a very long time about a variety of different subjects. And he said that souls were like love. There is no limit to one's love, and there is nothing like becoming a parent to realize it, as you realize as a new child comes out into your family and you can love each of them without diminishing any others, and that one's soul is like love itself. A soul is as big as it needs to be. There is no diminishing of a soul. It is exactly what it is.
I mean, that's a lovely metaphor, but we don't know that it's necessarily
I didn't
true.
know it was true at all. But I do think it's worth bringing up as
I'm just trying to think if that might be what the curse is. The curse is that...
What curse?
The curse that, well, twins apparently have. The mark of the first.
What do they mean by the
Curse.
Then I would like to make a proposition that the first is a twin.
That would seem logical.
Which suggests that the falling...
That they're of the line of Lunarian,
Oh, that Inarian had a sister?
and that might be the first.
That's not where I was going, but it does terrify me if that's the case.
I don't think I know this part of history. Do I? I don't think I do. I don't know what you're talking
We're
about.
just talking about the demon that Julius was telling us about. Remember when we were around the table?
The first, and we're talking about
Called the
Inarian.
first because he was the very first demon prince. The very first creature to fall to chaos.
Okay.
And the suggestion is there that possibly it was somehow related to the royal line of Altdorf, the elves.
And Inarion was the first Phoenix King. He rose in a time of great need to save the
I
people.
don't believe it. Oh, look, I know quite a lot about elves. I don't believe it because I don't think he's old enough.
Oh, to be that old? No, you're probably right.
What little I know
I
of
think you're
Inarian
right.
is he was there. It just doesn't seem like he'd be old enough, but his wife would be.
His
The queen.
second wife or his first wife?
The queen.
The first wife, yeah.
Who knows how old she is?
So she had a twin, maybe.
Maybe. That could be it.
Well, that would make sense, wouldn't it? If it's the line that's cursed. The curse came from her, not from him.
Well, the curse supposedly came from the sword, and Cain has a
Sup-
sister, no?
Who's to say it's not multiple curses?
Yes, but also supposedly.
Yeah, it's supposed. I've never really believed it because they say we're all cursed, and some of us, not me, but my father was born before he even drew the sword.
I don't know what you're talking about.
So that might give credence to the idea that it's a different curse.
Well, souls,
Potentially.
no time in the aether, is there? Who knows?
So we conclude on this that there's a terrible, horrible creature. There's a host of funny runes. They tell stories. Some of them
Sigmar did apparently cast aside his twin, and she was angry, and he exiled her and took a wife.
Oh, a wife.
Well, all you heirs of
quite.
Sigmar have to come from somewhere.
Yeah, well, I just presumed he,
Had a
got
concubine.
around a bit. That's what I assumed. I assumed he just got around a bit.
Did it say where the sister was exiled to?
No, just exiled.
Exiled, so that would presume outside the Empire. That would be a fair presumption, do you agree? Exile, outside, so we'd be looking at either to the south or to the north.
Well, in those days, I suppose, yes, exile. Across the mountains,
Perhaps.
grey, world's edge.
Could be anywhere.
There was another story that was interesting, slightly less heretical. But how old do you think? I may well be joining the dots and making my own picture here. How old is Joros?
Well, I believe he's older than I am. And I believe I am at least 5,000 years old.
You vacillate. You don't know the history well enough to be certain.
I'm sure you've said 5,000 to us before. Yeah.
But she doesn't know. But she's sort of managed to
The point is, it's totally feasible that Joros was alive when Sigmar was walking the
Oh,
Empire.
Joros claims to be alive when Sigmar was walking the
Right.
Empire.
So, this is a story about when Sigmar decided to abdicate, to leave and go east. And on his way, when he went east, he met a stranger on the road. And there's a whole bunch of detail about the story with the stranger on the road. And then he tried to deny that I'm just a traveller. And the stranger's like, no, you're Sigmar. I seen you when you was crowned. Blah, blah, blah. I saw you walking through the streets. And he's like, all right, fine. You got me. I'm Sigmar. Where are you off to, Sigmar? I've decided to abdicate. I'm going east and blah, blah, blah. And he said, good. And there wasn't anything overtly threatening or anything overtly menacing, but it gave Sigmar pause. And according to the story, he turned around and he went back and he ruled for another 2 years before he then left, plagued by doubts about this stranger. But that made me wonder, did he go back? Or did that stranger go back in his place? And I couldn't help but think of Joros.
Well,
Could Joros be that stranger
if
on the
that
road?
is true, then there's one thing we would then know about Sigma. Never mind.
What do we know about
No,
Sigma?
I need to go back a couple of points before I
I
forget
know.
it.
I think it's the thing you told me. Yes.
What did you just ask me? Was Joros? So Joros, I think. Well, Hythal indicates that Joros is older than Alamanawai, Rootweaver.
Do you know who Hythal is? Hythal is, right, let me explain. Elves have many ways of bonding themselves to each other. The only word that we have for that sort of bond is marriage. So you'll often find that some elves will appear to be married to multiple people, but to them it is very clearly different types of union. Marriage, for example, to my father. We discussed that previously. There's no marriage as we'd understand it. It would be better described as a union of houses, union of families and of bloodlines. But it is through two individuals as a link who are bound together, and it brings deep levels of intimacy. So the word marriage is the only equivalent that they have. I can't even pronounce the word. Can you say it, please?
Hythal.
Hythal. Right. Yeah, right, that is one of Alamanawai's wives, the one that took her from what she was and removed everything she was before, but not her memories. And the cost for that was the marriage. Am I close?
And a child.
Oh, of course, the child. Don't forget the child. With the seed that you were carrying inside yourself already. Yes. Which is important.
We don't know whose it is.
You might not know, but elves can store the seed within them any time they take. They can only store one, I believe.
Some elves can store
Some
more.
elves can store more, and they keep it alive through a mixture of ritual and magic. And it just gets held in stasis somehow. I don't know.
Like longer than the person who gave it to you.
It
Yeah.
can last for hundreds of years if they never use it. They
It
can
is-
impregnate themselves anytime
It
they
is
wish.
likely, given Rootweaver's predilections, that it was thousands of years old. Anyway,
Yeah.
Hythal says Joros is older than Rootweaver. Joros says he was there when Rootweaver was born. And Rootweaver, I know, is at least older than Sigmar because she was here when Sigmar was here. The colony was already established.
It would have been old, I presume.
Yes, and she was already old.
We know that the LAWhammer is old.
So she and her sister founded the colony.
There you go. That's
colony of the LAWhammer.
predating Sigmar by thousands of years.
So that's how old I am.
So it's possible that stranger.
Oh, could have been Joros.
It's also possible that stranger was some other.
Could have been anyone.
It's
But
also
we know-
it's also possible that story's not even true.
But we also know that the artifact that we found on the barge the other day, the Ulgu wand, that was probably made by Joros. And Sigmar had it.
I didn't know we knew that, but that does make sense. Yeah,
Maybe I just assumed that from what you said about it.
yeah, but it does make sense though. Yeah.
So, carvings, very old, marvellous. I think the more pressing part is what lay behind them.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently, so which do you think came first? Those carvings or that entity?
Well,
The entity was in a pre-existing cave that was behind a wall on which... Were there actually carvings on that wall? No. On a wall, although there weren't any carvings in that wall.
I suggest the entities first.
Yeah. Certainly it's lower.
Do you think that maybe they tried to summon the same entity, but because the body was stuck, it only took part of it? And that's what's running around Altdorf?
I don't know.
So I have a few conclusions to make because we tend to get caught up in our own little thoughts. But the first one is I would suggest my first thought upon this, because I always try to think of things beyond the obvious. What if it's a different one?
I mean, there may be more than one, but the very strong sense I got from the divination was, and I will check with Gunnar on the exact wording, but it was along the lines of that it is free, but to move it is to free it, but to free it is to move it. It was along those lines. And my interpretation of that was that the spirit is currently free and flitting about and doing something, and that were we to free the body,
the spirit would come back to the body.
Come back to the body.
So it would be away from there, but it would now be here. Yeah. So you've both freed it and trapped it at the same time.
Yeah. And
makes sense.
And we were like, well, what do we do? Do we tell the authorities? And I'm like, we don't tell the Cult of Sigmar. I was like, maybe we tell the Light College, maybe. And then Gunnar's suggestion was, maybe we save it for a rainy day because there may come a time when we want to do that. And I was like, and then we were like, we better stop talking about this. And I was like, I know someone I can talk to this about because other people won't be able to hear.
I mean,
I literally left there to walk back to the barge to find you and found you.
It's been, the coincidences have been going on since the last time we were in Altdorf, because last time we were in Altdorf, Colonel Sievers had a wizard advisor.
You might not know this, so I'm going to tell you it.
I know.
Yumi's hair.
Sorry?
Yumi's hair. I was waiting my turn. I'm orange.
Congratulations.
Well, obviously you can't see it, but I've had to dye my hair because when we left Altdorf, it all turned orange.
Well, how orange? Like you see your
look
arm.
Look at my arm. My arm hair's orange as well.
Yep, there it goes. There she lifts
like
up.
How orange?
And it's really orange.
Is it orange like?
It's not ginger.
Okay. Right. Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. So it couldn't possibly be construed.
Is it not dissimilar from that shade?
Is it?
It is.
Is it like
much
slightly less pink,
orange, slightly darker
orange?
Is it
like what a troll slayer dyes their hair?
And much closer to that, but perhaps a little bit more on the.
Is it
red
iron blue
fox
orange?
Side. Perhaps more on the red fox.
More
side.
on the red fox side. Okay.
Oh.
But her hair is hair and looks like hair, and it's everywhere. Every single last hair orange.
Wow, I mean that's a lot to share, but okay.
Yeah.
Not really. It's only a body.
Is it out of interest? Like before, like Yume was like almost invisible to Leopold. Is she still?
Yep.
Almost invisible. And is the puppy also almost invisible?
No. He's definitely there.
Well, that answers that question. Well, I thought.
High five.
I thought the reason I could barely perceive Yume may be because of her distance from Sigmar, coming from the other side of the world, but I can perceive him as clearly as I can perceive anyone else.
Well, we should double check. Did Jiro have you turn into a Sigmarite?
Are your family parents both Nipponese?
Yes.
He looks very offended.
That was a little bit offensive, yes. She didn't mean it like that, Jiro.
He looks like he's going to cry. I'm sorry.
Greta says, "Calm down, puppy." As his cheeks begin to, if anything, go redder. Greta just grins at him. Should I throw a ball?
He's growling again.
Yeah. You know she only does that because you react like that. You can meditate on that. Interesting. So when you left Altdorf, like literally as you crossed out of the city?
Kind of.
Not quite. It was when we were going down the river.
Yeah, we were on a barge.
We were chatting away. We're on a barge, or a ferry, actually.
And also, the thing that is important as well is that Greta noticed, but none of the other people did.
Yeah, that was the strangest part. We were just chatting away, and it was not a subtle transformation. This is the sort of thing that anyone looking in our direction would have immediately gone, why is your hair blazing orange now? And it's blazing orange.
Roughly how long had you been travelling?
Not very long. It's been about an hour, half an hour, something like that.
How long have we been travelling out of Altdorf when Gerhardt's scar disappeared?
Not long.
Let's see.
About the same.
I mean, does that suggest like a field of influence? Around
Yes,
Altdorf?
it does.
But why always on the way out?
That is an interesting question, quite beyond anything I can consider. I mean, I can theorize. No, I'd be making it up.
Well, here's the question. Did it change on the way out? Or had it already changed, both the scar and the hair, and the illusion that made it appear normal faded on the way out?
Mm-hmm.
That's actually disturbing.
So
I would suggest that possibly everyone in Altdorf is not quite what they look like.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awful. But that would... This is beyond my province. I don't even know where to start in this. We need somebody who's an expert on this sort of matter.
And like the longer we stay there, the more we change or something?
I mean, I don't want to go back. But then the alternative is to go back to the Sigmite Temple
And
on
it
top
doesn't
of the orchid
happen-
on the ground with a demon in its basement.
And it doesn't happen to everyone. Maybe... I
Well,
mean,
Yume was the only one that I saw. So
Exactly,
anything
and-
particularly...
Gerhardt was the only one the first time. So, but they are both people who were directly targeted by the things that happened in the Volkshalle.
Mm.
That's fair.
Their eye, its eye, if there is a thing behind the Volkshalle, is upon them.
And its focus has wrought... What? Change?
Change.
Like I was being looked at, but...
Yeah.
But when we were in Bogenhafen and there was a literal eye in the floor, that didn't cause anything.
Well, people turned into multicolored feathers, so...
I mean, sure, but none of us...
Although, did that actually happen given the news? Given that there was corpses there?
Was it?
Well, apparently they discovered all the corpses that you slew.
It's convenient for them.
In
Who
that
knows
you
what
saw them burst into feathers, but in truth, they weren't.
I mean, I'm more inclined to believe that.
They
I
just-
can't believe I would say this, that they did burst into feathers, but they just wrote what that was politically expedient.
That does seem fair.
Mm-hmm.
And much simpler.
I feel very bad. Jiro, I'm sorry. I never explained all of the ramifications of who I'm traveling with. This must be a lot for you. What's the fastest way? We're trying to stop the end of the world. Let's start there.
He says, in Nepalese, whatever you need to do, you do. It is your purpose. Your Imperial Highness.
Yes, of course.
I am here to train you, to ensure that you can manifest your destiny.
Yes, and she'll keep speaking racial. Yes, but first of all, I trust these people. You can say things.
If you trust them, then of course, I do the same.
I need you to understand some of this information because I have not had the education to be able to understand the ramifications of this. For example, if my Imperial family members who have fought on the front line had seen that body, they could give us more information about whether that's reasonable or something that has happened before. I have no idea. I haven't been told these things. I have a tattoo I don't remember getting.
Does he know? Has he explained to you about the tattoo? Does he know?
No, do you know about tattoos? I have seen my
Has-
father's tattoos.
I don't think he looked at it, did he? Like, he just literally averted his eyes.
He did.
Show him the tattoo. He didn't look before.
You have
I
to
was
look
watching
this
his
time.
eyes.
I do not need to look upon your body.
Okay, but it's a nine-tailed fox.
Yes,
That
a fox.
rings a bell? You recognize that image.
Looks at you. Of course.
Okay, you know as well as I have no idea what that means.
I know nothing of your education. I was not involved with it.
Yes, that's just part of the problem. Could you please enlighten us?
Still in Nepalese. He says,
You're only here for this conversation.
Yeah,
In
totally.
Reichspiel, please. They'll just waste time if I have to translate as well.
Of course, Your Imperial Highness. And then in Reichspiel, he says, it is a fallen spirit.
But why is it on her back?
Because it is now a part of her to summon and use when she needs to.
Does the
But
summoning...
she cannot do it because she is not taught.
I mean... So,
It will be wild,
yeah. Is...
dangerous, prone to attacking anything that draws too close. Your ability to control it in turn will be weak.
Can you teach me how to do that?
First, you need to master the weapons. Without control of your body, you cannot even begin to fathom controlling your mind. I cannot help you with that. I can only help you with controlling your body. Charming. Well done, puppy.
Okay, well, I don't know if I...
Sorry.
Just not go for it.
Well, did you is it the same fox? Or is it a different fox? To your little fox?
There is only one,
Well,
and
you...
it should not be here.
So, when I was...
The fact it is here means that it is not in Nippon,
Yes.
which means that Nippon is weakened
Yes, but there's...
by your parents' design.
What?
I don't think...
There is no other conclusion that makes sense, Your Imperial Highness.
Well, I don't think this has anything to do with my parents.
Now, of course it does, because they will have been aware that you had the tattoo on your back.
Yeah, but
And they chose to hide it from you. They lied to me! They lied to you! They weakened Nippon! They have brought great dishonor upon everyone that they have passed.
I did
And
tell
he storms
you.
off.
Did you say the tattoo only just appeared?
I think it was hidden by somebody.
Puppy! You should come back! Come back! He stops. Then he starts walking off again. There we go. There we go. She says. That's good.
I'll ask him some other time, but I'm pretty sure somebody hid them. Potentially, thinking back now, when my sister's powers awoke, they she was sent back home to fight because now she could, and my parents argued about that for a long time. It's almost, I guess, like they got to send one daughter back, so they wanted to keep the other one around. So I wouldn't put it past my mother, mainly. I don't know how, but I wouldn't put it past my mother to have hidden it.
So, is your mother a witch? Let's start off with the basics. Your father clearly is. Not that I was any aware of that at all, but your mother, is she a witch?
It's a very different idea. Which...
Can she cast magic of any kind? Can she invoke the gods? Can she do things that are miraculous? Can she do something that is not standard? Could she hide the fact that you've got yourself a fox on your back? That you're somehow connected to it?
Not that I knew of.
Well, then that suggests it's either her, and you don't know it, or someone else. And if your father is the direct sort who wouldn't do such a thing, then it's someone in your mother's court or your father's court who's most likely to do it.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question? And I'm asking a question. Please don't do the thing I'm about to ask you if you've done it.
Okay.
Since what happened with the fox, have you called on Ronald to aid you?
So I had to run away from the embassy because they had me in there, and so I disappeared. But I decided to do it differently this time and to accept that the fox was a part of it, and to take some parts of the Nipponese rituals within it. And it almost like took over. I had plans to go steal some stuff, things, but I was so caught up in telling this different version of a random story that I was. I only regained my senses when I left. All I remember is that at some point I was a fox. At some point, or I felt like a fox. I don't know if I actually looked like one, but at some point I was half human, half fox.
I mean, well, your hair's orange, so it's safe to say that you look like a fox quite a lot at the time now.
More like I had to keep my tails hidden under my robe.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
was that before your hair turned orange, though?
No, that was after.
Mhm.
It was after.
In Caravan.
Yeah, that was in Caravan. And also I can feel the fox. It has 9 eyes now.
Mhm. And I
Now.
think
Yeah, well,
No,
last
I didn't
time
catch that last time.
it had 6 when
No,
we
I
saw
didn't
it.
realise there'd been a change wrought upon it.
I felt the fox open its eyes when I prayed for that miracle. And so, yeah, it's gonna be here at some point. That's why I've been training so hard, because clearly I need to figure this stuff out.
so
When you say, like, you felt like you were the fox, or you were a part fox, part human, like, I mean, that sounds a lot like possession to me. Does that sound like possession to other people?
Well, so
Like
it is not my area of expertise.
demons and spirits are similar etheric entities, right? We
But-
know that demons can be capable of possessing people.
can they possess something that is already mostly a spirit?
Yes, I think demons are different to spirits. That's all I know. Demons are not supposed to be able to come here, and they can be banished when they are. Spirits just live here. So if when Yume used to go off in the fox, you used to go and look through the fox's eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Then yes, it is. She was becoming one with the fox.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's a two-way street. To a certain
Maybe it
extent.
always was. Yume,
Or maybe
we don't know that the fox wasn't sleeping in Yume when she was walking off as the
Well,
fox.
that just makes me think about the worm in Geralt.
But I probably shouldn't tell this story. It is a family secret, but
We're family now.
oh, that's nice. My imperial family, obviously there's stories and rumors that the people know about our powers, because we couldn't hide it completely. But the story we were told was that, I think I've mentioned before, that a goddess, we believe, created all of the other gods, created what we call the winds of magic, I guess, and depending on the story either imparted them to our family or birthed the first one of us. It's kind of unclear, and that's why we can use, because it's not magic in the same way that like Magritte or Elric use. You know, like my father is just a much stronger fighter. Or like when I accidentally cut down that tree.
What tree?
Oh, the firewood that we're using. I opened the fans when I was first practicing, and I cut down
A tree.
a tree. That's what I've been trying to recreate, but it's really difficult.
Just put the fan down. Thank you. Is that what it was? I could hear it. I couldn't work out what it was. It's a fan. I thought you were fighting with shears.
it
I thought that was strange.
Like, to Alamenowith, it's not like elves think that magic came from the gods. Like, they don't think of gods and magic and anything. They're just like, they exist in the world and they use the world that's around them.
Yeah, that seems fair.
Yeah, well...
Given what you know with your lore of almost zero.
Yeah. For elves, I think it's... Your father is a good fighter, but he's probably just using the world around him to draw power and support his actions. You don't always need to speak the words of magic to benefit from the magic that is in the world.
Like when the people will get all agitated and fires burn brighter, that kind of thing?
I think so. I'm not sure.
Okay. Well, me neither. But since my sister was sent away, now that I think about it, I was young. But since she was sent away, I think that's when they stopped teaching me stuff.
In the hope that you wouldn't awaken.
That's that big love lake that your man was talking about. Yes.
I never mentioned it.
The big love lake not doing exactly what?
Become a lake.
The right thing.
What?
Well, if they loved you so much, they didn't want to let you go. But in doing so, they denied their country someone who could have been presumably one of its mightiest defenders. That is
I think
a sad thing.
possibly everyone has it wrong. Just look at the chronology. I have heard you say that you've seen that fox ever since you left.
Mm-hmm.
And that it manifested here at some point.
Yeah.
If that's the case, then that means your parents probably knew, or someone around your parents knew right from the outset. Or worse, someone got your parents out because of what you represented. And they wanted you out. So they filled your parents' head with ideas of what they might find over here.
Maybe. I do not. So
Either your parents are responsible for you in your current state of affairs, and given that they have already been trying to hold you back, it would suggest that that is certainly within their remit. They would certainly consider it, even if they haven't necessarily been the ones who did it first time round. Or someone else did. Someone tried to remove. Look at how he's reacting. Look, he's stomping around over there by the trees. He's clearly upset because of what you represent. And you represent a massive loss to what he considers to be the only thing that's important in his life. Nippon.
Why don't you ask Leopold? It's no point me asking him anything, but sometimes you could ask him a question like, did my parents do this to protect Nippon? Maybe they were given a prophecy. You know how prophecies are. If you do not do this, then Nippon will fall, and everyone interprets it wrong.
You are somewhat flippantly trying to call upon the gods. You do realize that it might kill him.
What?
Just to make sure we're clear.
he did crumple. You were like really
He gets hurt. It's not something you just simply call upon, Alaminawai.
All right.
I mean, of course, it's his choice. But I'm saying this is a god you're asking. This isn't simply him.
It's sometimes my choice.
Well, that makes it better.
It wasn't my choice on the barge.
Okay, but no. Then you have to be really careful.
But, I mean, to
Look
be
at
fair,
what it's done to Altdorf.
to be fair, Greta, like it might happen if you just ask me a question casually without me necessarily knowing. I mean, it does just mean generally you have to be careful asking questions around me.
Just around you?
Right.
If I hear it, who knows? I mean, I
No,
don't
it's
know.
gonna
It's
be
quite
a
so.
I can try and concentrate on it and attempt to hear if Sigmar will tell me something, and sometimes he does and sometimes he doesn't. But I didn't.
Would you casually call upon a god, is what I'm saying.
I would ask respectfully. I would talk about the god. I'm just making a suggestion. We have in our group people who have talents and powers.
Yes, no. No, actually. In this particular instance, it is not the group that has that. It is an external god. And gods are fickle creatures. They are. You told me
They
that.
are, but Sigmar led me to that temple. Sigmar led me to that demon corpus. And in that revelation, it made me think that I had to talk to Alamenawaith, and I had to talk to Yume about her fox. And now here we are, talking to Alamenawaith and Yume about Yume's fox. It does seem that this might be the time to ask a question.
Can you honestly say that attack you just made upon me is nothing to do with your personal emotional feelings about the past few weeks?
Of course I can. It's nothing to do with that at all.
Good.
You've got to realise that I come from a town where the priests are killed. Any of them that are blessed, because the gods are seen to be untrustworthy. My father removes them because his father removed them, and his father in turn removed them. We don't talk about it. But that's what happened in Tame. Because the gods are fickle. They are not here to help us. They don't care about us at all. None of them do. They're all liars, treacherous, ridiculous entities that have only one thing in their mind, and that is whatever they are. And if you're in alignment with them, then very briefly, you might gain benefit. But if you're not, then who knows how it's going to end. My father relies on witches. He always has done. Our family has always relied on witches. So,
Look, Greta,
Well, maybe we're
I
not
already
family.
second-guess and doubt myself. Enough.
I'm not saying that you are in doubt here. I'm saying that the gods are in doubt.
No, you are. I say things, and you say, no, Alamarith, you're saying it wrong. You're saying that wrong. You're being dangerous. You're telling him to do things.
Yes.
I just say the things that I'm just trying to... I am going for a walk.
Don't get ensorcelled, she says.
More the point, don't go too far away. Cause
She's literally just going to walk around you all. Like, she's just walking.
That works. Maybe you should play your flute.
I don't want to. I'm bad at the flute. The flute is just a cover. I hate the flute. I'm the worst elf who ever played the flute. Other elves laugh at me when I play the flute. The flute is a joke.
I don't see any other elves here, and I quite like the sound of you playing. That was the only reason
There
I
is
asked.
your issue, darling.
What?
Your self-confidence.
I think that's what I was just trying to tell you.
Yes, and I was expressing it. Your self-confidence issue, and it shouldn't be.
I mean, you were expressing it as if it was something you'd figured out rather than something she'd literally just told you. I don't want to get in the middle. Sorry, I'm going to go back to my lunch.
You're just going to have to get used to the fact that you're not what you were. You're going to have to. And stop these outbursts. They don't help you. They don't help. They hinder you. When you need clarity of thought, you don't engage with clarity. You know that's true.
I'm going to play my flute.
I will say though, didn't we establish that elves are like more emotional than us? Isn't it
Yes.
kind of like saying, "You human, don't mutate"? Like maybe it's
No,
harder
not at all.
for.
It's
No,
like saying,
Greta knows all about elves. Greta is an elf trainer, so I couldn't tell you anything about myself or how I feel or how I might be acting right now. But
everything
Greta
was.
can tell you everything because her family, they kill priests and they enslave elves. So Greta can tell you all about it. Go on. Just tell them all about me.
She smiles. You feel
There's
better?
no religious reason why that would be painful for me to have you do that.
Do what?
Tell them all about me.
Am I telling them all about you?
Always.
Am I?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Do you think so?
Yes, because you're telling me how bad I am at things. Now they know how bad I am at things.
You say it yourself. Is that not the whole point?
Shut up.
I was reinforcing it. Your stories.
They're not stories. I am bad at things.
There we go.
I could train you for a bit if you want.
I do have actually a thing I wanted to say on being bad at things. I have a confession kind of to make. I was thinking about it, and then Greta brought it up as well. And you know, when we first met, I approached your group with a plan in mind to try and survive, but I was rattled and scared, and then Gerhard immediately just outed me to the whole group.
Biscuits.
to the whole
biscuit.
tavern, really. I mean, he wasn't quiet.
And that
Biscuits.
and that really threw me off, and I just kind of defaulted to what I thought he expected me to be, which was the Yume. Well, the Yume he knew from when we were kids, and that served me well. I don't know if you might understand it. It's easy to be treated like a kid. Nobody expects anything of you. You don't have to take any responsibility or defend yourself. But as of late, I think it has backfired somewhat, and it may be time for me to stop doing that. So I guess I want to talk about it. Because I don't know, I can't be like Birdie and, you know, hey, by the way, as a slave to the Skaven, haha, now I can be my true self. Like that, I don't have any of those
I
things.
would advise you not to say that word.
Oh, yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Lucky we're in the middle of nowhere, but really, do not say that word.
Rat-faced beastman.
No, I wouldn't even say that. Just beastman.
Beastman.
Beastman. But yes. Anyway.
Although, I mean, to be your true self, he did immediately disappear as soon as we docked.
One Bernie.
But yeah.
I've got something to tell you all.
What is it?
No, actually, I wouldn't want to put you in that position.
Oh, you have to tell us now.
Oh, well, I made it why.
You know that by saying that, you make
she knows
us want
exactly
to know.
what she's doing. Stop playing people and get to the point.
You know how Lucas's master was fell off the cliff? But we all really know Birdie murdered him.
No, you say, "Oh, I don't think I knew anything about this." Do you know
And
anything
you
about
mean
this?
neither.
Well,
When we
Yume
met-
wasn't with us.
When we met Lucas, he was in the employ of another noble, and so was
With a
Alana
with a
Grauman.
Funny name, Cockrat.
Cockermouth. They were trapped in a cage and we freed them from beastmen. And Birdie recognized in Lucas's master a kinship with the beastmen that she served. I think.
Oh,
And so she took him outside and then claimed he fell off a cliff. But we think that she murdered him. But actually, Alana Grauman just cast an illusion so Birdie thinks she murdered Lucas's master. Now, I haven't told Lucas this because obviously then he might need conflicts. But now he's got the written contract with Gerhardt, it might be better, but I don't want to say anything. But
I feel like you'd already told me that.
So yeah, that.
But why?
But why what?
Why would she do that?
Because she's...
Well, when she said they're all fighting against each other, so presumably
Why would Birdie do that, you mean?
Yeah, presumably it's
No,
served a
why
different-
would Alana cast a spell?
that's a good question.
Because Alana Grauman is a grey wizard who is loyal to her core, to the Empire and its laws. And you shouldn't just go around murdering people. I know that as a group we forget that. But what she was doing was saving a man's life. Now, it may so happen that Alana Grauman found that convenient because she was serving that master with Lucas to find out who he was serving, but at the heart of it,
was she there to find out who he was serving?
I'm not sure why she was there. But I think she had an ulterior motive.
Perhaps. But she clearly does things even if they're going to be in the future, foreseeably things that the Emperor doesn't want, like going down south when he needs
No,
wizards.
the Empire, I said, not loyal to the Emperor, to the Empire.
I guess.
That is her. If anything, she, like all of the ones who were back then, we heard someone, Julius, say, did we not? Was it Julius? No. You weren't there. Gausser and her had a conversation about it. They're loyal to Magnus.
That's an interesting line. Loyal to Magnus.
Mm-hmm. They had a little face-off with each other.
And his writ,
Mm-hmm.
his rule, and what he wanted the Empire to be.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's older than he is as well, right? What is it? Why are there such long-lived humans?
Alana told me that Elric's mistress, Maven, had a theory about that.
And what was it?
That if you don't use magic, your magic that you have, you live for a long time.
If you don't use it.
Yeah, so if you can cast magic, but you use it very little, you live for a long time. That's what she believed. I suspect... I don't know. I think there might be something else at play, but I can't quite put my finger on it. I'm thinking it through. Elves live for a long time and we cast a lot of magic.
Well, one would presume it's a completely different thing.
Yes, different species.
Yes.
When we, just thinking back to when we met Kokorow and Alana and Lucas, you remember that it wasn't just beastmen, they had attempted a divination,
A
right?
divination, yes.
Like
Just in case you're out there wondering, what on earth are they discussing? This was their very first ever pre-stream episode. We had 20 whole pre-stream episodes before we started playing the Enemy Within and taping it. If you are one of our All Access patrons, you'll already have access to the entire timeline of all of that. It will be eventually publicly offered. It's not public yet because we're still tinkering around with it. Having said that, though, you may be watching this 2 years later, in which case, it's all out there! Yay!
in which case, greetings from the past.
Ooh, yesterday's Andy! Woo! Anyway, very serious. Back to the chat.
I seem to remember that, and I can't remember the detail. It was so very long ago. That, well, in terms of who that divination was trying to find, like we thought it was trying to find Gerhardt, but then I remember there was a sense that it was definitely a she that it was looking for. Could it have been looking for Yume?
Perhaps. I think Birdie, when she heard it might be a she, thought it might be her, and that's why she took murderous action. Not sure.
But they weren't those kind of beastmen, were they? They were the normal foresty kind, right?
Yes, but we know exactly what's happening right now with her. She got told by Emmanuel Nacht, apparently, that there are cultists infiltrating her beastmen.
Mm-hmm.
Which means that there are definitely cross connections going on.
Mm-hmm.
And it's quite clear from the pride in her eye that she does quite a lot to cover up. But it's quite clear that she thinks she is significantly better than everybody else. Now, it's an internal pride. It's something she's clearly had beaten into her and possibly reinforced within her, while simultaneously she was beaten down as a slave. But she thinks she's special. She's certain of it. True or not?
That's fair. I'm not entirely sure pride is the right emotion, though.
Oh, she is prideful.
She's prideful, yes, but
Yeah.
I don't think she's proud of that.
I think you'll be surprised. She
I
thinks she's
think
blessed by
you're
a
right.
dark god.
Yeah, exactly.
And she's proud of it.
Well,
She pretends she's not.
the genuine, sincere feeling I got from her was
The girl's a spy.
Yeah.
She's an actual spy.
yeah, I know. I don't see her face. Sometimes,
Interesting.
not always, but sometimes I see things a little truer. And I think deep down she's not proud. I think deep down she's afraid.
No, we all be afraid of gods.
Well, and if you're right, Greta says Birdie is cleverer than she appears, then it's much more likely she would be afraid, but hiding it under pride, but hiding it, because she knows
That seems fair.
something to be scared of.
Yeah. Yeah, that seems very fair. The more clever she is, the more likely she is to be afraid.
I mean, quietly watch her the next time I tell her about how holy it feels when I'm close to her. That's when you'll see the true reaction.
That's what I was basing it on. She almost glows.
Was she literally close
Well,
to me?
not to everyone else. That's where the pride I was seeing was. She has this little moment of actual happiness, but I've got a feeling, not only do I think you're probably right, but I think that pride lies in the pride of a slave.
Mm-hmm.
She is proud of pleasing her masters because she is what they want her to be. I think. What do you think?
Give me a petal!
I won't.
I want one now.
No.
I've waited for ages.
Well,
I was
that's
locked in a
because you
room.
Ran away.
I didn't run away. I told her I was going. I told you I was going.
What? Did she say she wants a pickle?
Your stupid petals. Your stupid father. I was her familiar.
Who's familiar?
Lucitas!
Oh, this is a development. What do you mean you're...
I was her familiar. Her bound slave. He tricked me.
Well, this is not something that I knew.
I want one.
No.
In return for your father's trickery.
I mean, it's a very nice attempt, but no. No. They're not even here, darling. Are you going to run?
Leave it early.
What are these petals?
She just lets you search her. You come sniffing around. She's sniffing around her.
What are these petals? I don't know why.
Whatever. I'm not talking to you. Looks for petals.
Why are you not talking to me?
Are you done yet, darling?
I was her familiar. Do you understand?
No, I don't.
You said in that book, it said that it sometimes kills humans.
Mm-hmm.
She's not that special.
What, to cause a...
To bond each other, which means she didn't feel my emotions because she wasn't part of the bond. She was the master of the bond. And how could that be? Because the bond requires absolute agreement. And you know I would have made absolute agreement with those stupid petals. So I want one.
I see. Actually, that's quite good logic, which also makes it... And she doesn't seem like the sort to use someone like that, though. She's never been one for slaves.
She was a child.
You're
Who-
suggesting ignorance.
Cavorted with your father and murdered his older brother for him. You don't know her at all. She's a spy.
We're talking about her wife.
Oh, I know that.
Just making sure.
I just want someone to tell me what the petals are.
That's not my secret to share. Unless it is, but it's not.
Greta has petals that her father grows on his lands that he used to ensorcel me. And I want one.
No, you're not getting one.
But haven't you just been freed from being ensorcelled? Or is this a different ensorcelment?
There's a different ensorcelment.
How would I know that? You literally just spoke about how you were ensorcelled and it was a bad
Yes,
thing, and now
but-
you're actively trying to ensorcel yourself. I'm not a wizard. I don't.
No,
Do sorcery.
no. He ensorcelled me because he gave me petals and tricked me into saying Greta would never trick me like that. Would you, Greta?
Oh, darling.
What?
You have been a little bit too long away, haven't you?
So, did these petals put you in like a suggestive state? Is that what you're suggesting? They make you like when you're drunk, or?
They make her hallucinate.
Oh, right, so like one weird route or something.
Yeah, it's just like that, except they're exceedingly addictive and we're trying to wean her off them.
Right.
This is the result.
Going back to the barge.
No, you're not.
Is that why? I mean, is it part of why you've been a bit all over the place sometimes?
I have not been all over the place. Have I been all over the place?
Your hair would suggest otherwise. Thank you.
Like,
You've got to remember to take your deep breaths, darling.
like I understand. Like, addiction is a hard thing. I'm not saying you're a bad person for it. I'm just asking. Like,
You would have to ask Greta. She's the elf expert. Probably. All right, probably. Oh my god, I remind myself of him. Oh no. This is the worst day of my life.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually happened.
I didn't know if you'd actually have an outburst, but you've had an outburst.
Is this why you've been needling her all day?
Yeah.
Right, that makes
Part
sense.
of
I did
it.
wonder why.
Well,
So
also
maybe
because
needling the
she's
puppy.
upset I left, right?
Yeah, but of course I'm upset that you left. You put my son's life in danger, but not because of that.
She's too cold.
Yes, I am. I have to be.
Oh, I thought you meant the tea.
You're not getting a petal, darling. You won't be able to think if you have a petal. Petals are for nighttime only. When you're sleeping. That's it. No other time.
I mean,
That is it.
You and Gerhardt should join a club where you talk about your experiences. It might help you both.
I'm not
come
talking to
terms
him
with it.
about this. No, I probably should. He's a doctor now.
Yeah.
No, you probably
But also,
shouldn't.
he's addicted to the book, so...
Oh, it's totally different.
Yeah, but there is some shared experience there.
Perhaps.
You know, it wouldn't have happened if you hadn't gone. If you'd stayed here, it would have all been under control. And this is the result.
But I just went to leave a note.
Yes, and why? You were ensorcelled. Were you?
Yes.
You're relying upon a grey wizard. Who's to say she was not the one who ensorcelled you then, the first time you arrived in Altdorf, to immediately go to her side?
Possibly.
Yeah. You told me that you and she were lovers.
It's true.
Perfect time to ensorcell you in turn. Fill your head with fancies and possibilities. Look, just because my family deals with wizards doesn't mean we trust them. Your heart is altogether far too open. And this is the result. Outburst. But no, you're not getting a petal, nor are you getting a leaf.
Do you
Yes.
think we could use some of this wood to make a better shrine on the barge? Since there's no spirit in it.
I think possibly, given the hour, there is a question that we could potentially answer.
Yes.
And that is,
Where are the petals?
oh, don't even play. You're not getting them, and if you mention them again, none.
Right.
Do you understand?
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to wean yourself off them if you're going to act like this. Petulant and childish.
Fine.
That really was a fine response. Marvellous. I think there is a question that you have posed that potentially we should answer, and that is, do we want to know more about that thing you found? And I think we are not in a position to answer that, but there are others who can. There is also the potentially ridiculously dangerous option of going to look at the bloody thing again, as if somehow we'll get some form of intelligence, which really scares me. But you have posed a terrible question. We don't have the answers. We are going to be filled with supposition, which I think much of our conversation here makes clear. And if we're looking for answers, the answers are only going to be found in places that are potentially dangerous, the Light College, the deepest, darkest corners of the libraries of Sigmar and the cathedral.
We could ask my parents.
Yeah, well, they're, I presume, in Minheim, and we're here.
Or they did say they said there were survivors. Like Juro is clearly evidence that there may be more. There were people other than my parents in the embassy.
But are they going to know about
No.
this sort of thing? This appears to be quite beyond the remit of what you know and what he knows.
Well, my mother had a spiritual counselor.
I have an idea.
Okay.
Shouldn't we talk to Lady Wittgenstein?
She knows a lot about cultists,
But I thought she
and
also.
possibly those that are behind them.
But and also, did Julius not say that she knew about
Demons.
demons?
Well, if that is the case, yeah, that seems like a really good route. I didn't know she knew about demons. I missed that part. Well,
I
we've
do
got
have a
route.
terrible headache.
I mean,
Is
he-
it
That's
related?
not a surprise.
He may have just said that in order to motivate Birdie to save her, but it may be true. She knows a lot. To the barge.
Do we go to the barge?
Yeah.
Do you need to practice more, Yume?
Uh,
The answer is yes, but I don't know if now's the right time. What do you
I
think?
mean, how late is it in the day?
Well, it's about summer. It's going to be like forever. That's what it feels like, at least.
I mean, we could.
Could we bring Lady Marguerite here?
Do you have to practice here?
Well, just in case I do manage to.
Chop a tree.
Drop a
and-
tree.
Drop a
You wouldn't want
tree.
to chop the barge enough.
Yes.
That's fair.
And also, like, it's a bit visible. Like, these fans are not small.
Is it those weapons in particular you need to practice with?
These are the ones I'm the most familiar with. Because as much as they weren't teaching me how to fight, I got to still do things like dance practice.
Because it's not maybe not as good, but I could help train you with the sword on the barge. That's something I have a lot of experience with.
I mean, at the very least, it would. Jiro!
Thank
He
you.
comes.
Do you think I could practice the sword with Loophole on the barge and that would still train
No.
my arms? We kind of need to go back, but I don't want to stop practicing.
Then go back.
I think we should bring her here.
Oh,
Are you sleeping out here?
No, I come back at night. I can join you later. It's not very helpful when you just tell me to do whatever I want. I'm asking for your advice.
I'm not an advisor.
Okay.
Have you known him your whole life?
Mm-hmm.
Is he always like this?
No, I used to be worse.
Huh.
Not in front of my father, but like to me. This is the prime example of someone who treats me like a child still.
I don't know. He just told you to do what you thought was right. That's not what you would say to a child.
Eh.
Depends on the child.
Right. So, shall we go fetch Lady Marguerite?
Greta says, you can test it out. Ask him to fuck you.
Oh my god.
I mean, that was
His face!
that
As
would,
he looks like he's about to explode.
that would definitely prove he didn't think you were a child, but
I think you
Come
might
on, puppy.
die before.
She says, maybe you should beg. And just stomps off again.
Greta did make a good point that I should maybe go out on the town before we leave.
Although I'm regretting that as a general idea, given how dangerous the town might be.
I'm
Might
not.
be better wait until we're on the road.
Yeah,
Mhm.
maybe.
Right, so we're going back. Back.
Yeah.
Speak to Magritte. See if there's anything that we can do with that, and then.
I mean,
What
you
she's
might
gonna
tell
say.
her about this, and she might say, "No, don't be silly. It's something."
It's around about the fifth bell when everyone arrives in Altdorf. There is no mystical woo as you pass over some
Mystical threshold.
woo boundary. It just feels like a lovely summer jaunt that eventually arrives into the Reichsport, passing through the busy streets. The bigotry has not lessened in any way. You, fortunately, are with a priest, and the bigotry is not blind. It is very much targeted.
unlike the priest.
It's very much targeted at certain types of folks in certain circumstances, often loners, those who are by themselves, those who are in groups of their own people. You represent something quite different, largely because of him. He makes a significant difference. There's indeed even a certain amount of respect that goes in his direction. But of course, there are extremists of all kinds, and some of them will quite openly question why the fuck a priest of Sigmar would be seen with such degenerates. Outsiders. Does he not even realise? It's one of those things where you could easily just lapse into days of argument.
Yeah.
Don't you know he doesn't see color?
Literally.
Quite. The easiest thing to do is to engage, actually, because that is the easiest thing, but it will get in the way of your goals. Some are quite vociferous about it, though. None are quite as bad as to, well, maybe some will spit. Let's find out. I fail my spit roll. They clearly don't. They are not good people, but they are certainly vocal and loud. And the worst amongst you all is her, the elf. A walking example of everything that's gone wrong in the Empire. Outsiders, filthy outsiders, somehow influencing politics by their very presence. Sure, it might be to a degree true, but isn't that what always makes racists worse, when they find the little nuggets that they attach to? And they are not liking you. Because they feel justified with their crazy thoughts. Half an hour after that joy, you find yourself back in the barge. Marguerite is down below. She has now managed to organise the library down there and has been purchasing shelves to get them all into place.
Nice.
She's had people down there screwing them into place so that they don't move, and has had brackets put up in front of all of the shelves to stop the books from falling out.
There's still plenty of space for cargo, right?
Oh, it's a pretty big,
Good.
but some of the space has certainly been taken.
Yeah.
But I guess the shelves are like on the wall.
Yeah.
We're gonna
So
just
you can
have to
stack stuff in
charge.
front of it.
Wall.
We're gonna have to charge.
Wall.
Hole?
Yeah, let's say yeah.
Hole? Is that the word?
None of us know. None of us know.
The wall.
The side.
The wall.
Belly.
The belly.
The belly.
The belly of the beast.
Most of the shelves are tilted slightly to ensure that the books can be lodged out. It's very unlikely, even unless you get into a big storm, that they'll all fall out.
Plus, once we stack cargo in front of them, we'll be fine.
Yeah, totally, but then inaccessible.
Shame.
Well, potentially, depending upon what sort of books you're looking
Well, it'll
for.
be like one of those puzzles, right? As long as we leave one bit of space, we can slide the
Yeah,
cargo
yeah.
around so we can get to the book.
It's not how cargo works. It gets tied into place, sadly.
We
By
just
the
go- we've
stevedores.
just
As
got to pick.
stevedores do that.
You're not
yeah.
allowed to move it yourself.
Yeah.
Never know.
Yes.
Can I just take a little bit of care as we're getting closer to the barge that we're not being followed by any of these people that have been yelling stuff? Because what I don't want is them to come and set fire at the barge while we're asleep or anything like that.
Follow is such a loose term. Do some follow you sometimes? Yeah. Do some observe that you've come in here? It's difficult to be certain. Yeah. Some probably have, but there's a lot of barge hopping as you go out onto the pier to get into
There's
the
no
correct
obvious
barge.
malingerers like trailing in our wake.
No obvious malingerers who are looking to burn the heretics, so to speak.
Shedding fluff.
Marguerite is down below. She's got herself a small cot that's been set up down there now. 2 screens that she uses to part herself from the rest of the hold down there. And has yet to figure out how to organise some form of door.
Yeah, like come winter, this is going to be a horrible place to sleep.
Freezing. Truly awful.
She's
But
going to
we're
have
not
to
at
shut the
winter
library
yet.
for winter.
It is mad that it isn't possible for us to get a door through to our cabin.
No, it's totally possible. It just wasn't done. Yeah. If it had been done, there'd be
Got a
door.
hammer.
Yeah. Sadly, has not yet been done. She is below the decks, where it is slightly cooler than it is on the deck itself, which at this late point in the day is actually pretty darn it hot. If you are fully clothed, you're going to be feeling it. Down below, she's got her shawls off and is completely naked across her shoulders, showing off just how buxom she actually is. She is, however, wearing big, long, heavy skirts to somehow balance that off. She is, as I say, sitting down on her chairs with a pile of books around her, looking at them as she sees you coming down the ladder and looks up.
It's just reminded me I haven't checked out my Wittgenstein holy books yet. I need to remember to do that.
She looks up and says, "You normally only come down here when you have something you want, so I trust you have something that you would like of me." She says, "Would I be correct?"
Yes, my lady, we've come to ask you something.
Is it another proposition of marriage by any chance?
No.
Good. I've had enough of those. What can I do for you? Oh, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 of you.
A duel for your
Hi.
hand would be
Who's
very
that?
funny, though. Like,
Who's that? He says, looking up at the looming shadow from above that looms down over, looking at what's going on down there.
Oh, has he come with us, is he?
Yeah, he goes everywhere she goes. Poppy. Yeah.
my lady, this is my master, I guess. My training master, Jiro.
I see.
And
Is he titled?
back in the barn, yes.
She gives a small curtsy. My lord?
This is, can I tell him?
Yeah, but I see no reason why you shouldn't.
This is Lady Marguerite Wittgenstein.
That will do. She says, the pleasure is all mine. And why are you here?
So, we want to ask you something about demons.
Oh, God. Is there anyone out there? She looks up, my lord, can you ensure that there's nobody listening in?
Hey, enough of yours.
You hear him stomping around up there. She smiles. I like him.
More of a guard dog, Greta.
I like that one quite a lot, Greta says. He's such a good puppy, isn't he? She goes, I don't know what the correct way of responding to that is, so I'm just simply going to say that I like him. If you wish to talk about profane subjects, I would suggest careful language.
So, maybe we start with a theoretical. Yeah? That seem reasonable? So, theoretically, if there were a powerful demon...
Why don't you just describe the physical thing that you saw and let the expert come to the opinion?
Okay.
Because we have no real understanding.
I mean, it's definitely that. I saw it scooping up souls and swallowing them.
You didn't mention that.
What?
In the
You
vision.
didn't-
In the vision.
You've seen something scooping up souls.
No, I saw a vision of something that had scooped up souls
Oh my God,
long in
you
the
didn't
past.
tell us that.
Scooped them up.
Oh my God.
Feels like you should have told us.
You should have you just said it was a body. A physical body. You didn't say you had a
Excuse me,
vision.
recriminations aren't going to help.
Sorry.
I told you.
Why
I
are
was,
you blaming him for this?
and I
What
told
has
you.
has come. That you are doing equally the same thing as she is.
Sorry,
Calm down,
Liverpool.
children, please. If you're going to act like children, I will call you so. Calm. This is a dangerous subject. The very nature of the subject can make people react poorly. Scooping souls is not good.
No.
Now, obviously, that seems to be a phrase which barely scratches the depth of how not good it is, but it suggests a greater power. Greater powers are not common, and they carry names. And those names, when you grow close to them, sometimes squirm into your mind and never let go.
I have no name has squirmed in because I haven't seen the spirit. I've only seen its corpus, and that's what we wanted to ask you about.
Demonic corpus. They're rare.
Trapped, I believe, by a manifestation of
A
Ulrich.
trapped demonic corpus of a greater power.
Mm-hmm. And I believe from the vision I got that its spirit may be abroad, and that were we at some point to...
Do you by any chance have some form of blessed saw?
Blessed
Saw?
saw?
Yes, a saw.
No, I mean, I could probably bless a saw.
I'm not sure that would be enough. I was just thinking of perhaps harvesting some of its extremities.
I mean, I've got a hammer.
No, we would want to be careful as to exactly what we...
We have other sharp.
We'd need to be deeply blessed. And the cut would have to be clean.
Blessed and not runic.
Blessed.
Okay.
It would require divine interference.
I mean, I can't...
He was like looking at you like her sword's literally to kill demons, no?
What I would say is I got a very strong sense that Ulrich did not want it disturbed right now.
Well, the gods have got their own prejudices. It might be able to be fashioned into something of use.
But
we could determine where it is.
But that's my point.
If it's a corpse, we could determine where its spirit is.
Oh, interesting. What the sense I got was that should we wish at any point to curtail what the spirit is up to, releasing the corpus would bring the spirit back to the corpus.
Then I retract.
And
Well, I'm very concerned.
Might
If it
I,
has no corpus, then it must...
might I also tell you something else?
Yes.
A number of witches have told me over the past few months that there are too many coincidences in this city and that
Yes,
something
of
is
that
wrong
there's
here.
no doubt. Right, I have a deep and... No.
also, when some people leave the city, there are changes.
My hair is all orange.
Your hair is not orange.
This has been dyed, but look at my arm.
Strange. Is it orange?
All of it.
All of it?
Mm.
Oh my dear.
And the worst part is that only Greta and I noticed as we were leaving. None of the people around
Is
us
that your
did.
true hair color?
Not that I know of.
But you didn't know you had a tattoo.
True.
Then either you are being returned to what you were or changed into something else, neither of which is particularly palatable.
I think it's more likely you were returned because when we left the city with Gerhardt, a scar disappeared. That is not the normal kind of change to be wrought, is it?
A scar was removed.
Yes.
And in your case, your hair... Oh, this is prophecy. Signs of prophecy are being changed
Yes.
to ensure that certain prophecies cannot come to pass, which means that there is a prophecy, almost
Yes,
certainly.
there was a prophecy about him with his scar, and the scar left.
And so they
So-
have been attempting to control that prophecy so
That
a
is what they
different
said.
face could...
That is what they said, but I scarred him again.
That is probably for the best. As for your hair, there's nothing we can do about that. It's too late. It's not something we can simply change. Which means that they had a prophecy concerning a dark-haired girl from far away.
You saw her vision of her on the wall.
Yeah.
What was her colour was her
Um,
hair?
Yeah.
It was dark. Yeah.
Just gonna have to keep dyeing it.
It's not dark.
Yeah. Yes, it sounds like prophecy, particularly given we're dealing with something that potentially plucks at the strands of fate themselves. I do not recommend disturbing it at
No.
all. Given
But
what you just said and what you believe is the case, if you are correct, then disturbing it at all might possibly bring it back.
Oh.
And that would be deeply unwise. That would be terrible. So the alternative would be to study it, which would be almost fruitless. It would slowly worm its way into you, or alternatively, the most unfortunate outcome is that it is entirely free of its corpus, which means that the material components of what it is would no longer have influence, allowing it to possess freely. Greater powers cannot possess mortality without deep abiding change. Our mortal host can only last days normally for a greater power. It is often their desire to find a host because it gives them longer in the material realm. I would suggest that this entity wishes to be trapped so that it can continue on its goal, whatever it may be. Or alternatively, the god chooses for it to be there. It's difficult to tell. There's no way for us to know.
And are you saying that with its corpus being here, it could possess mortals for a longer period of time?
I am suggesting exactly that.
So it could be anyone.
I am suggesting exactly
Right.
that. I would need to do some study. If this is the case, then there will be word of it. There will be instances of when it was
My lady,
my grandfather's library.
I think potentially some of the stuff in Nippon is very similar to this. It's a long story, but the short of it is that there are people in Nippon who use spirits, fallen spirits, to their advantage, and if they're not careful, they are taken over instead. I'm seeking that knowledge anyway for everyone's safety, but perhaps it's something to keep in mind for this instance as well.
I'm not sure of the relevance. What exactly are you suggesting?
That if I had control over it, I could trap it.
That there are some people who you could trick it into possessing, and they would control it, not the reverse.
Ah.
Is that what you mean?
Yes.
Yes.
I don't.
No, that is lore I have never encountered.
It would take me a long time to learn.
But your father, maybe that's why they tried to murder him.
Because he was a threat.
Because
ding, ding, ding! 150 XP.
Oh. I'm so excited! Yeah, thanks! That's never happened to me before!
Your first ding, ding, ding. Ding, ding, ding.
Leopold knows it to be true. That makes sense of that. If that...
Which would also suggest that if anyone is actually a cultist out of my parents, then it's probably my mother.
Your mother.
If that was the case, it seems to me that she would simply kill him.
Mm-hmm.
It would not be difficult for a wife to kill a husband. I've considered it.
Yeah. Okay.
But you thought it was you that said they were cultists.
Yep, no, but I'm saying it could easily be her father. I mean, if this thing is in concert as bargaining with this cult, because potentially...
alternative.
Mm-hmm.
What if he's simply possessed by something else?
Mm.
He may be no cultist at all. He may simply be acting contrary to his own will. If he is a conduit for such things, that is something I had not considered. Might be the case. I'm not sure. The events as I understand them are confused. He is attacked on Hexen's night. They flee, and after a circuitous route, stop in Middenheim, apparently. Why? There are too many holes in that particular chain of events for us to put anything together. The very fact that he could possibly be capable of stopping that would be a very strong reason to remove him. It does, however, make me particularly concerned. Particularly concerned for Gerhard. What does he represent? Perhaps it's just unrelated. Perhaps it's something to do with what was going on in Uber's right. I can't be certain on that one. Right, so given what we have, I don't think I wish to look upon it, lest there is some small part of it left there. If there is, it is deeply dangerous and it needs to be hidden. Truth be told, there should be rituals put in place. I would like you to draw what you can or you can't draw.
I can draw. I mean, not well, but I can draw.
Well, I was hoping that you could give me some idea of the space around it.
I mean, well, actually, I can't draw that because to my senses, it's a complete void.
Just, there are rituals that you can put in place to help bind it.
It's frozen in holy ice.
In a natural cave, you said?
In a cave beneath a fortress monastery.
I wouldn't be able to encircle it then.
Yes, but you and one other
only
uncovered it.
Only two of us have uncovered it.
Yes, but you don't have eyes that can see, and she does. So she looked upon it.
She did.
That could be bad.
There is a chance that she's lost. There's also a potential chance that it was not free until it was unearthed. This place is cursed somehow. There is something that is frequently said in books of law concerning entities of this type, and that is that they have no beginning, they have no end.
Mm-hmm.
You may free an entity, but it may have been influencing the area for 100 years because it one day gets free. That may be the point when it becomes free. It may not even be that one.
Might be a rival. Oh,
We can't bind it any further. I would recommend you do not go any... In fact, I'm going to go further. Do not return. It is possible that the place is already fallen. It may be perfect, but it may not be, and it is not worth endangering your life and your purpose on a chance. These are entities that live off chances. You need to have a certain determination to not do that which is dangerous. If there is a chance that you might find yourself there. Steel yourself. Pray. Whatever it is that allows you to have certainty of thought. Does anyone know where it is beside yourself?
What other?
Anyone here?
Oh, no. Oh, well.
We could work it out.
Yeah, they could work it out.
Then don't leave.
Right.
Because you might find yourself working your way over there out of an unexpected curiosity.
I have warned the Light College about the coincidences. I did not know of this at the time. So
there is a concern that those under its influence will not notice the influence. It becomes the norm. Elves will not be so easily tricked. Humans, though. Humans very quickly grow used to things. They very quickly become accustomed to that which to everyone else would be unaccustomed. It is like you hear a very high-pitched sound. You hear them far more than we do. No one else here could hear it, but you do, and it's constantly there. If we bring it down just a little bit so it's on the very edge of our perceptions, very quickly, we just don't hear it anymore. But you always hear it, because you're now. And it would make them wish to drive the elves away.
And they have gone.
They have gone. And which came first then? The desire to get rid of them because they will make it clear that there is an influence, or the fact there's an influence which drives them away. It's the same in the end. If this is a powerful entity, it works on possibility and chance. We should be leaving soon. Because we're caught in the middle of it and we've grown too used to it. How long is it before Gerhardt graduates, assuming that he doesn't fail? 3 days.
3 days.
Then we should prepare ourselves. I'm going to make some wardings for the barge.
How long, how wide an area would you say these coincidences would?
That is a very difficult question to answer. We are working from old lore. I've read quite a lot about them and have received a lot of information from those that believed they were my allies. I spoke once to a sorcerer who had spent almost 300 years in the Endless City, far to the north from here, and he had many things that he wished to teach me. He'd only been born 4 years earlier. 4 years. In terms of the time as I understood it, at least. Perhaps that's why it's called the Eternal City, sometimes the Endless City. I can't be certain. But it told me a great deal about demons of this ilk, because it was searching for one. Of course, he is trapped amongst all the rest, or at least he was, in the pit. Once I had outlasted his, he became suspicious.
Oh, I hadn't thought about that.
They are rare, though.
The reason you were keeping them all alive was because when they died, their souls would go to the ruinous powers. But if they're all dead,
then they're gone.
But that also means that they might know about you. So you've got a threat on that side as well.
I do. And they will want revenge. There's no doubt about that. I was not kind. Or I did not want to be kind, given what they were. Although sometimes it was difficult. Being kind would have been easier.
Have you managed to make any headway with the book? Gerhardt?
Yes. Resolved.
How is it resolved?
The book no longer has any claim upon him. That which the book attempted to unleash within him has been unleashed.
What?
It's difficult to tell. The book
Ulgu?
itself is, well, yes, it is wrapped full of Ulgu, but it may have unleashed something else. We
Right.
can't be certain until it begins to settle.
All right.
We'll know soon.
And the book isn't a threat to anyone else either now.
No, it's now just filled with information that he most desperately requires, which, as it turns out, is a mixture of magic and medicine.
One maybe detail that we didn't share was when I had my change in hair color when Gerhardt's scar went away. We think it probably was about the same amount of time since we left
Yes.
Altdorf.
How long?
So, half a day, a few miles?
Yeah, like a couple of hours.
Couple of hours.
So we're probably looking at maybe a couple of hours. So
By river.
And you were going to Karabag,
Yes.
and we were
6:12.
going to...
an area of
12,
influence
12.
about 12 miles, perhaps? Around at this extent, where its influence is? Yep, that's bad. That's powerful.
And that's interesting that doesn't feel like that would be centered on where the corpus would
It would
be.
be impossible to find
Yeah.
without his corpus.
But the reason I was asking, sorry, was
Or detect.
before we got to Altdorf, when we were up north, there were some crazy coincidences occurring up there as well. Like insane coincidences.
Well, perhaps its influence is further than you
Or perhaps
expect.
it moved.
Yeah.
Perhaps it was following us.
Mm-hmm. That was exactly my concern.
I feel very foolish. That's the obvious answer. It had moved and has now moved down to Altdorf. It's probably it is possessing someone. As a spirit, it would almost certainly return to its own body. It wouldn't be able to do anything else. It needs to have another body. As to the nature of what sort of body it needs, that is the question. There will be a rule. There will be something. They are creatures of pattern. They are not what, I apologize when I say this, but they are not what the cult of Sigmar says. They are not chaotic. They are patterned. They have an end goal in sight. And to achieve that, they have to follow their pattern, which means they have to act a particular way. And it's not that they choose to act. They are incapable of acting any other way because they are what they are.
Elf looks sheepish.
Yeah, I
Although-
was gonna say.
What matters
I did-
is what is it?
I did get a strong sense that it had to change to make change. It had to make itself small.
Well, that is what it is doing.
That's what
It
it's
is
doing.
manifesting. That is further confirmation. Then we need to learn how it manifests. That might give us.
It was conjured or summoned.
It
That
was
was the right word.
summoned by whom? Who
Well-
could summon a greater power?
People who were desperate, they prayed to it, to the architect,
Why?
because
Careful.
Sigmar was terrible.
Because Sigmar was terrible.
That's what their prayer was. I mean, their prayer was more. It had more names, which I won't say, but and then I felt it pushing against the skein of fate, and then it knew it had to make itself small. It had to
Consider
change
this
itself.
a carefully deployed set of words. Every one of these entities has a name. The name describes it. If you learn its name, you know what it does. If you know its name, you can tell what it will do. It is a barometer of their actions. No, more. It is an engine, a machine. It is something that determines what they are.
Well, could it be then that the cult of the Golden Ball, who you said had been told not to copy but to re-inscribe the same thing on the wall? So they knew the name of it?
They're inscribing things on walls.
Yes, around
Yeah,
it.
This could
stories
be
of
the binding.
stories of Sigmar.
And his twin sister.
And it doesn't really matter what the words are.
Although one of them is the name that you mentioned.
Which one?
The one that begins with an S. That was Ulrich's twin sister, apparently.
That seems unlikely. She says stories are what stories are.
That was Ulrich's twin
The
sister.
inscriptions.
Sigmar's twin sister, we thought might be Azazil? Azazil?
Fallen one. Possibly.
We also
That would be
And I-
theologically difficult.
couldn't tell if it was deliberate or accidental, but some things that have been attributed to the prince are actually more to do with the first.
I'm not sure of the connection.
The first demon prince, the first fallen.
Oh,
It's a
Because
mistranslation between princeps meaning first and princeps meaning prince, apparently.
And I don't know if that's an accidental mistranslation or an intentional obscuring of stories.
well, that is interesting. So, I am interested in these inscriptions because I think they are almost certainly the binding. It's holding it in place and possibly keeping it. I regret to inform you that it's quite likely that this cult is in its way. That its end is to have that inscription kept in place so it is free.
Every 10 years, they've been re-etching it. And it's always been blessed priests.
Then it suggests they've been tricked. They don't know what they're doing. They're binding a demon and keeping it separate from its soul. To say such a thing is a lie. Its body is its soul, but still, it is attempting to keep itself free, and it is using its little cult to hold it in such a difficult balance that allows it to be free.
And
Most likely possessing. We might be wrong on that, but that in and of itself begins to speak to it. Shiari, he says, and the fact it probably we'll be able to figure out its name with enough investigation.
I mean,
And that is good for you to know its name.
Well, we'll be able to find it if I can get its name.
Right.
I mean, I could tell you more of what was said in the prayer, if that would be helpful, as long as it wouldn't be dangerous.
I don't think the prayers matter. I think that individual syllables within the prayers matter, and it's those individual syllables that we use to bind it. Its name will be up there, but I imagine there are many carvings.
I don't mean the carvings. I mean the prayer when they were praying for it to come and aid them.
That I'm interested in.
So,
Did you hear it?
In my vision, I did, yeah.
Was it in Reichspiel?
Was it in Reichspiel?
Well, you understood it.
I mean, I understood it. It was a vision from Sigmar, so...
But you said this cult has been there for thousands of years. Hundreds of years.
Hundreds of years.
Yeah.
But I guess, as we said, it doesn't really matter. Time is...
No, but just that would mean it has been wandering around the Empire for hundreds of years.
Possibly.
Possibly not.
There may be rules in place.
Right.
And that is what we will discover if we determine its
Its name.
Its name is not so much an important configuration that we establish so that we can control and potentially bind. It's also to understand.
It's like elves.
If you say so.
It is. Oh, my ears just went funny. We don't give children names until they're old enough, so parents don't shape them by accident.
That sounds like a tradition. Well, I'll see what the library can offer me.
Do you want to know what they prayed?
Yes.
So they prayed, they begged, they said, please come to us, O Lord of Feathers and Change and Fate, who knows how the thread is sewn?
Yeah.
In our hour of need, for Sigmar is terrible.
Well, it's missing an important... It's missing the name. They will have to have uttered its name. It can't manifest without it. It's like you can't live without your heart. But even then you can with the correct magic. It's more fundamental than that. To be there, it needs to be there.
Maybe it was omitted in the vision. It's not like Lupo was there or anything.
Yeah, that's fair. It's quite beyond my understanding of what you
Yeah,
do
I
and
mean,
do not see.
And it was glimpses. Like I saw it.
It was glimpses,
Yeah.
so they're likely to be missing parts.
Yeah, I mean, I saw it. Like I saw it scooping up souls, and then I
You
heard
saw it. Colour.
color, pink and blue.
You saw it, the colour.
Hmm?
Fascinating.
6 eyes, pink and blue.
I don't want to know. Feathers, I trust.
Hmm.
Scintillating.
Sorry?
Bright. Scintillating and bright.
Yeah,
And a face.
giant bird skull, a skull.
A skull.
Mm-hmm. And the eye sockets were weird.
She. It will be she from the Shyish. That will determine its face. At least that will determine its visage. So definitely Shia. We must be careful though. Shia.
Its eye sockets were too shallow.
It's
I guess
Shia.
because it's a demon.
Shia. It's a common part of many of my spells. I'm not finishing the enunciation, depending on how I would need to channel. But Shia.
I mean, we saw feathers before when there was a demon involved
Yeah, the big eye.
and the big eye. But you didn't get to see that eye that time.
No, I sensed the eye, didn't I? Back in
Sensed
the eye sensed it.
But you didn't really see it.
You didn't see.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but he felt it looking.
And it spoke, right? And we all heard it, what it said to people.
Yes.
Like it said stuff to Tugan and stuff.
Mhm.
Well, I don't know if we've told you this.
No,
story.
wait, hang on. Something important here. There was that demon boy in Bergenhafen. We've met a creature like this,
Yes, that's
who
what
we
I'm
also
getting
met
at.
in Kemperbad.
who we also met in Kemperbad. But wait,
Had been following.
when we heard its name, I think, not the name that. Oh, I know I have this somewhere in my mind, but maybe they're related to
Do
each
not
other.
say it.
I won't say it.
I would like you to meditate, consider, and think. Do not say
Do
it.
not speak.
Do not dare.
If
And
I
then
remember it, what do I do?
we will find a method of breaking it into its components, separating them, and then gently stringing them together in another way.
I'm not sure it was the same one because it wasn't the same coincidences. What I'm getting at is I think they might be a smaller part of a greater whole.
Well, I wouldn't be unknown.
But we saw.
I wish you to meditate.
I don't know how to meditate.
You are going to learn,
Right.
because I wish you to think on it. As for the event in hand, I should like 2 separate descriptions of the event. One from Father Leopold, maybe 3.
3.
Give me a moment when I consider you all. This happened where?
Happened what, sorry?
This happened where?
In Bergenhafen at the
Bergenhafen.
Schaffenfest.
It was recent. I trust the Father's insight. I should like to have him recite it to me. I do not want the elf to recite it to me. Much more likely to have been influenced. Her memories changed and twisted into something that does not quite match the reality that was presented. I want the most material of you. Most likely to... It's difficult, isn't it? I think it might have to be Birdie. One does not entirely trust her memory. Greta pipes up. I think you will find that her memory is more than sufficient for the task.
Assuming she comes back.
Do you think so? Yes, assuming she's not dead. And assuming she comes back, but one feels that it's quite likely she will. Then I should like her to tell me it. As for this entity, We're not going to be able to find out its name just simply by hoping that we understand it. That's not going to be enough. But there are certain components, particularly the beginning and the end. I know quite a lot about them. I've studied them. But even if we do form one of its names, it is only going to be a component part. To truly understand an entity of this size would be a million sounds. There is no way to properly encapsulate it. But there are certain small parts of it that can be used to control it.
Was there not? Did it not sound like lots of voices talking at once?
Yes, it did.
It did. Yeah, when we heard it, the sound in Bergenhafen, it was like lots of voices talking at once.
Yes, those of the ilk that we are currently describing, they do everything that they can to hide themselves. And a part of that is speaking in multiple voices. They have a purpose that they cannot avoid. So they hide their purposes. But one of the voices will be speaking the truth. That which you must move towards, incapable of not talking, incapable of not enacting the way it is. It will speak even when it wishes not to, because that is what will ensure the outcome that it wants comes to pass.
I think I know where we need to look in history to find its influence again.
Yes,
if you have books. Remember...
Because I do not know where to begin. We have an extensive
Marienburg, the Westerland. Remember Tugan was told he was getting a ritual to make Bergenhafen rich, but it wasn't actually to make Bergenhafen rich. But they told him that it was the same ritual that had been used to make Marienburg independent.
And what happened when Marienburg became independent? Give me a component part of that. A great event that helped its rise.
The...
Can I do more history?
You don't necessarily need to. We've already discussed it this very session.
The sacking of
the greenskin.
The greenskin invasion, the sacking of Nuln, the sacking of the capital.
That was then forgotten and covered up.
We would, if this was to be happening again, require another greenskin invasion.
There is one coming. Blackfire Pass.
So they are part of a ritual component, do you think?
So
that would require time, because it would require more than I can even consider. A chain of events that is quite beyond anything normal. You're correct. Marienburg is where to look. It may have been summoned before. That was a good connection. That will help us find something. You learn to meditate. Speak to Elric. I don't have time. I'm going to be referencing these books. 3 days till we leave.
I've got it. I remember it.
Last syllable, please. Careful. Say it slowly. Very slowly.
Rue.
Rue. Rue, rue, rue. I want you to take a deep breath. Pronounce it clearly.
Rue.
Let me just mark that in the lingua prestantia. I want the second syllable, please.
The first two syllables I didn't hear very well.
Then give me what you believe it is.
Sha.
The second syllable.
Dia. Didn't write it well.
My bad handwriting memory.
Duh. I know what I thought it said, but I don't think that's what it said. I thought the first...
Then I return to my original request. Meditate.
Sure about the
rest is within you. You cannot remove it. There is a part of it within you, which means at some later point, if it is something that can possess, it will find you, because you heard it. Expunging it is going to be what we're here to do.
But what I'm not sure is I'm not sure if that was part of the name or just a word that came before its name. I might know its full name.
Can you write it in... Do you know the lingua prestantia?
Mm-hmm.
Can you write it? Carefully. And I would like you to write the last syllable incorrectly. And put an inflection to move the sound to... Move it up 1 octave.
All right.
What name are you going to write? Notes.
I've got written down Targetaru. Targetaru.
Which, if you watch the other episode.
Yeah, I mean, it's weirdly close to what, like, what the fuck?
Weirdly close, you think, eh? As she looks at it. That would be a particular... I don't think that is enough. You've not got it all.
Right.
But
Meditation.
I'll meditate.
perhaps with the initial bit that you thought of and the one that she misheard, plus that?
It will give us a... There is no point in casting the stone into the water until you know where you're supposed to throw, and I do not wish to waste any opportunity that we have to potentially repulse it. I think will be the best option that we have.
Mm-hmm.
If I know its name, I can keep it away from us.
There's two things. One, we all heard that name. We were all there. As much as I don't remember it, it might
Do you want me to meditate too?
be in
No,
all
I
of
don't
us.
think you will be able to get it.
I have meditation in my career now.
In your case, I think your mind will be purged of it. She is tempting as a target. That's why I want it from her.
Mm-hmm.
And
She also recognized, Lindsay wrote it down because it sounded like I just, the way it was said to the person sounded like a name, and to Alamenowith, therefore, it sounded like a name. Whereas I think to everyone else, it was just like a bunch of syllables.
Yeah. And the other thing is, if we're looking at Marienburg's history, then it's rife with Nipponese people. Again, I think we should go to my parents.
Of that, there's no doubt. Of that, there is no doubt. So, I'll do the library. You meditate.
Right.
Everyone else, try not to die, and I'll start setting some wards this evening after I've done some research.
We're staying on the barge, right? This is it now.
Would recommend you do not leave the barge.
Yes.
Jiro's not going to be happy.
Well, he can be unhappy.
He can be unhappy.
Yeah.
He's not your master.
Exactly.
He's your teacher.
Master, teacher, they're very similar things.
They are similar, but they are different.
Yeah, and he is specifically your training master, in that while he's training you, he's the master. In all other areas, I think he's pretty clearly subordinate to you.
Yes.
He's a puppy, says Greta in the background, smiling.
Can we not needle him if we're all going to be sharing this barge?
Oh, he's going to have to break. I'm going to needle him.
There was something else.
Maybe there's another way. Let's get him drunk.
There was something else.
I don't think he will.
There was something else. I'm
Look at
sure
him. What?
that it said something about the crystal labyrinth. And it struck me, if you've spoken to that person, you might know what that is.
I've heard of that. It is somewhere that is lying beyond the normal mortal realm. Well, at least one is in the right place. Pass on my apologies to your man.
Sorry, you'll get used to it. Thank you, though. Yeah.
Then I should like you all to leave except for the father. I have questions for him, and he needs to delve deep into what little memories he probably has of the event, so that he can recall them. I'm looking for the purest memory of it, which I believe I will get from you. Certainly do not want a memory from anyone else. I would like to hear, right from the beginning to the end, Are you happy to do that?
Certainly.
Before we go, could I speak to you privately, my lady? Just quickly. It won't take long.
Says, well, I have no issue with that, and no one else does.
Of course.
Yeah.
Greta goes as well.
Super hearing boy and super hearing girl.
No, Loophole is genuinely going to try and respect her privacy.
Yeah, me too.
By like, could you play a tune to kind of cover the sound, give them the privacy? She's specifically asked for privacy. Come on, I'd love to hear your flute. It always calms me down when you play your flute, Alan. It's such a joyful sound. Oh, that's lovely.
Hello, good day. She looks at you. Do you have some matters you wish to address?
I mainly wanted to apologize. I was not very cordial, friendly, reasonable when we first met, and not because of who we thought you were.
She nods. That makes more sense of it all, I suppose.
And I heard from Greta that you were the one to ask, so
I did.
thank you. That was it, really.
We have a deal. As part of our contract. That is yet to be signed. It's not in place. He was rather reluctant with his part of the deal, which we have gently massaged. The deal was relatively simple. And that was, it is a marriage in quite the traditional sense. And a part of that, to ensure that there will be no annulment, is to ensure his fertility. Well, there will be children. That is the point of a marriage, is it not? I think it is. And if he cannot supply, then the marriage will come to an end. It will be annulled. I am fertile, and I know I am. As a part of our contract, he is not to have children with anyone else. That is an important point. My stipulation on that was that he could not have relations with any other woman. He bridled at this, significantly in fact. I hear from Greta that he may have raved a little about how unreasonable it was and how inappropriate it was, while simultaneously making sure that my side of it, where I would definitely not have relations with any men, was firmly in place. I said, of course, you could have relations with any men you wished, but there was no chance of children there. I did not care. I did not care for him in the slightest. He has successfully negotiated a position where he can have relations with others. Where I continue to not care whether he does or not. But I do care he has children. If he breaks the contract, I will not be pleased. I can't say that I trust him. Trust comes with time, I would suggest. Trust is earned. But I have no issue if you wish to go and pursue him. Pursue him if you wish. I would suggest it's a fool's errand. I would suggest further you'd have more luck with me than you would with him. Contemplate that. Thank you for taking the time. You didn't need to. You could have kept that within you. You chose not to.
I'm trying to change my ways.
You were rude. But you were right to be. Under some circumstances. Be aware. He has no real love for you. Beyond that he might have for a sister. He thinks of you as a child.
I've been made aware.
Good. I felt it was incumbent upon myself to make sure that you
I appreciate the thought.
then, in turn, I appreciate the thought. We're going to be facing some dangers. He's not ready for them. Neither are you. The father, he's aware of how unready he is. Gerhard is not. My wife is terrified. You can tell with every one of her words that are uttered. On this barge, there's only one person who knows their mind, for certain. You can decide who you think that is. He says, but good day, I need to study.
Of course.
You go back up, where tootling is going on, with a slightly grumpy-looking Alamena wife.
And Leopold, like, stomping his foot along in the beat. Big smile on his face.
And Greta looking on with a deep well of amusement. As we bring our little extra Tale of Altdorf City Part 2 to an end. Our little group of adventurers, having realised that something ill is afoot in Altdorf, and it's potentially awful, but fortunately they didn't kill the Dark Witch, who has in turn provided them with intelligence about demons, which is a good thing, right? Boop!